This is ready to go. That's the hope anyway. I'll be closing some of these other windows. Okie dokie. So my setup is a bit different today, but I still wanted to go ahead and take care of it. So just forgive any extra noises, especially from pets. So there might be pets, there might be cats walking in the background, so just an FYI. Hopefully there are people that are gonna pop in. So in the meantime, hope you guys are doing all right. Hope you guys are doing well. And what we're gonna try today is this extract. This is called Gimnema, and it's apparently used in traditional Indian medicine for things that have to do with sugar, particularly to block sweetness. There are some people that use it for things like diabetes or pre-diabetes, but there wasn't any evidence that I could find to really support that. But apparently it does help prevent some absorption of sugar. When we're talking about blocking sweetness, it does work not only with sugar, but it also works with xylitol, it works with stevia, it works with sucralose. So I do have a bunch of different stuff to try. Some of it was based on your guys' recommendations, so that is that. And I see we've got more viewers popping in, so let me know how you guys are doing today. I have a cup to spit in, and I have a cup to pour things in, and then I just have some water hanging out. I have tried this before, and it is definitely effective. It tastes awful, so let me make sure that we can see this pretty well. I mean, it's just a wonderful kind of color. And I wanted to dress very sweetly today because we're not going to be tasting any sweetness. So usually just like a couple drops will do you, but let's, I mean, if you've watched any of my taste test stuff, so especially the more ridiculous ones, you know that we just kind of go for it. It tastes really, really bad. So I think, try to think of like a medicine that's really bitter. That's the taste. It works pretty fast. We're not going to have to wait, you know, for it to start working. So I do have a lot of different stuff. I realize now I didn't bring a spoon. That's okay. We can use our nice clean hands. So some of the people wanted to try things like fruit, different types of fruit, different sweetness of fruit. One person had recommended bran. I don't have bran, I have rice. So we'll give that a start. And then there's just a bunch of other things. So let's give it a go. So we're just gonna go for our nice cooked rice. It just mixed brown rice and white rice. Don't worry, surgeon. How you doing? You probably followed me for some of my atheist content, but we also do taste test stuff here, and we're having a nice scientific taste test. A blocker is, don't know what a blocker is, perhaps in 101. Yeah, absolutely. So basically what this extract does is it blocks, so it cuts your ability to taste sweet. So basically I have the ability now to taste saltiness, bitterness, sour, savory, but not sweet. So right now, I absolutely did not taste that rice. You know that rice has that really light sweetness. Didn't taste anything there. In terms of, I guess, what's next, sweet-wise, we've got a nice tomato that we're gonna go for here. I love tomatoes. I'm the type of person that can just eat tomatoes just by themselves as a snack. It's just sour. I mean, you like the tomato because it's got that bit of tartness, but without the sweet, there's not a whole lot to appreciate there. The next level of sweetness we have is just part of an apple. Good afternoon, Paris. I couldn't even do that. That was awful. But now let me describe how awful it was. I was just thinking it's terrible. I didn't describe it to you. That's half the point of watching it, right? It just tastes like a cardboard that's sour. Sour cardboard. Like wet, sour cardboard. No. How long is it supposed to last? Anywhere from 15 to 50 minutes, but it can last longer for some people. Should we do another amount? You see, guys, this dumb nonsense of pushing stuff to the extreme for absolutely no reason. This is why I chose the Marine Corps and not like the Air Force. No, it still tastes bad. I got some on my finger, which looks terrible. Actually, somehow tastes a little less terrible. It's still really bad. For mine, if you guys are curious, I got it on iHerb. I got it because I heard it works, and I just I like to eat sweet stuff, and sometimes it's not the best thing. So I thought, well, maybe get this and try to wean myself off of it. The last thing we have in terms of sweetness are these nice sweet green grapes. This is a variety called Shine Muscat. The Muscat grape is just a type of grape. There's a lot of like 200 varieties or something, and that's what makes the Moscato wine. So that's what we got here. Now these are delicious. I love them. They've got a nice firm flesh on the outside, so it makes that nice snap when you bite into it. And I'm really, really not anticipating how this is going to taste. Oh, it's just sour. It doesn't even. It doesn't even taste like a grape. It's just, oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. It doesn't even taste like a grape. I thought, you know, if you could have a grape but minus the sweetness, what would that taste like? It's not that. It's just, it's sour, and then you don't. Now, I love sour, okay, but it's got to be balanced out with some of that sweetness. You know, you got your spicy. It's got to be balanced out with some sweetness or some savory flavor. You know, like onion or garlic or something. And you don't expect that texture with something so sour, and it's just, ugh, I can still. Let's see. Is this fun? Not rhetorical. No, this is fun. This is fun. I would recommend looking for, after this surgeon, I would recommend looking for my protein bar taste test. I was cleaning my desk and found a bunch of protein bars that were expired and terrible. And I vomited eventually. So for me, again, this is my type of fun. This is my type of humor. That's why I did the Marines, you know. You got to get that extreme stupidity. I bought a bunch of stuff today from the 7-Eleven for this task. So we've got sour cream and cheddar. This is my favorite flavor, by the way. It's cheddar and sour cream Lay's. I wanted to try it because I remember watching this documentary about sweet and sugar and how companies can exploit your taste tests or taste buds that way. And they had made this guy like a Cheez-It, like a cheese cracker. If you don't know what a Cheez-It is, like a cheese flavored cracker. And they had made a batch with no sugar so they could let that guy taste it. We don't have Cheez-Its here. I also love Cheez-Its. A friend of mine is in the US right now and is like, what can I buy you? Cheez-Its, you know. So I am going to try this. I think that's going to be a closer thing just to see how much, you know, something like cheddar and sour cream, those are not things you would associate with sweetness, but how much of that tasty flavor is, you know, due to the sugar. Let's find out. We also have, oh yeah, I probably should have put these in the microwave, but that's okay. We'll power through it. These are honey, they say rice cake, but when we think rice cake in English, we think like a type of cracker. This is a Korean traditional rice snack. If you know what mochi is, then you know what You know what tok is? And that's what this is tok. So this is covered in honey. It's made with glutinous rice. You cook the rice and then you just pound it until it becomes this paste. So that's what we'll try as well. I also wanted to try marshmallows. I don't know what I'm going to do after this, because I actually really don't like marshmallows. I like them in stuff, you know, if you're going to make... Who's this? Is this Choco? Choco's scratching my chair. So if you're going to make something like sweet potato casserole or whatever, yeah, you know, throw some marshmallows on there. Hot chocolate, marshmallows, great. Marshmallows by themselves, no. And so I just wonder what that's going to taste like. Somebody did recommend to try orange juice, so I got some different juices. They were buy two, get one free. So we have orange juice. They recommended it because they said they heard the reason that orange juice tastes bad after you brush your teeth is because it blocks your ability to taste the sweetness. So let's find out. The other one is from the halabong. This is a type of citrus very similar to an orange, really sweet and delicious, from Jeju Island, which is off the southern coast of South Korea. And the last one here is an ABC. These are getting kind of popular in Korea lately, but it's apple, beet, and carrot. I'm expecting it to taste like dirt. Do you guys have this? This is marshmallow Coke. I also have regular Coke. Both of these are sugar-free, so they are going to be sweetened with the xylitol or, you know, whatever. I also have, in addition to the orange juice, I have orange soda. And last but not least, I also bought mint, like a mint, cookies and mint chocolate. So we'll try that. Additionally, I have some candy Snickers. I've got cookies, like fresh baked cookies, a fresh baked type of cake. This thing, this like long... I've only ever seen the Japanese advertisements, and they are pretty funky. So I wanted to try it. A chocolate raisin and a chewy caramel or chewy toffee. That's what we're trying. All right. Any suggestions of what we should try first? The juices. Oh, I also have a non-alcoholic beer. That's what I have too. So we've got a bunch of stuff to try. I just want to, you know, a variety. I wonder what Skittles. Oh, I have Skittles. I have them. Please hang on. I do have a couple other things. I'll be right back. Just give me a sec. Let's see. I wanted to temporarily block this, but it's not. That's okay. You guys don't mind just looking at the back. Okay, but let me turn off the sound. Okie dokie. Yes, we have wild berry Skittles. We have these sour Hitchis. They're from Germany, but they're like a sour, chewy candy. And then also this overloaded Hershey's. Okay, thank you for saying it. Good. I'm glad. Is that a cat shuttle? I don't know which one. We've got 5 cats here. Let's see. That's the U.S. stuff is banned outside, like Ritz. I think a lot of it is just people are not interested in trying it, I think. You can buy it on sites here, like Coupang. They're just really expensive. So it's not banned. It's a rather salty snack for Koreans. If you're going to have something cheese flavored, then they tend to be pretty sweet, actually. The Lay's cheddar and sour cream, probably only here because Lay's sold okay, and then the sour cream and onion sold okay. So in some places you can get the cheddar and sour cream, and only the big one. All right. Hello, Hive Science. Welcome. So is Krampus not staying still? OJ first, you compare it to the toothbrush test. Let's do it. We're just gonna, and again, you know, go big or go home, right? I could just drink this. No, because I'm probably not gonna finish it. Um, Not the same as if you were brushing your teeth. It's just bitter. It's bitter, but because it's so cold, there's a level of refreshing to it. It's weird. Definitely weird. This one's the more sweet, so let's go ahead and try this guy. Wait a minute. I can't even smell the sweetness. Okay. Go off, science. Nope. That one's really sour too. Nope. Because you ever just swallow something really sour and your throat is reacting to it? That's what's happening now. Like, I'm not gonna vomit. It's just sour. Let's go ahead and try the beet, apple beet, carrot. Okay. Let's dump this in the waste. Okay. This one, I'm hoping it just tastes like dirt. That's my hope. No, it didn't. It tasted like sour dirt. I'm not gonna go for another one, which means, of course, I'm gonna go for another one. It's really sour. You know, I kind of like beets because they taste like sweet dirt. I'm an earthy taste person. I like the ginseng taste and stuff because it tastes like cinnamon dirt. There's just something about dirt. Okay. That's what I was hoping for. No. That is not what I got, and I'm not too thrilled about that. So we'll just put these over here in the corner, and let's check some of this. Check some of the stuff you guys are saying. Pretty much all dairy products end up being sweet unless you buy it from specific places. Yes, regarding the Korean food, yeah. The worst one is probably the garlic bread that's covered in sugar syrup. Who asked you for this? Who asked you to make garlic bread covered in sugar? No. Yes, I did shake it. There's a mouthwash like that. Finally read the ingredients. It's like hydrogenated castor oil. Oh, interesting. Does it make your body want to vomit? Like, does it spoiled food response trigger making you want to throw up? I don't know if it's necessarily that. I think it's just the fact, and I should say that my stomach hasn't been great lately. We've got like a Chuseok break, so before the break, I was just puking. I don't know why. So already, that's not great. But it's more like, if you eat something that's too sour, but you inhale it, or if you inhale something that is really spicy, and your throat just kind of reacts to it. That's really what it is. It's not so much a gag reflex as it is like a contraction. That's more how it feels. I have had umeboshi plum. There was a really great place that made vegan sushi in Greektown in Detroit, Michigan. And they had a really good umeboshi plum vegan sushi. Hello, Chris. So let's just try. Let's keep it up with the drinks. We're gonna go with the orange. I'm looking at the rest of these right now. By the way, you know when you go to the gym and you think you're going to feel better after the first 10 minutes and instead you just feel even more tired and exhausted and you're like, I still got to be here for another however length of time. That's how I feel right now. I'm feeling like, okay, well, we gotta, let's do it. I was gonna spit it out. It's actually better than the juice. Interesting. It might be because of the carbonated water that's added to it. I thought it was gonna be quite tart, and then it just wasn't. But just to be sure that we're not wearing off, you idiot. Holy lemon, you fool. You absolute fool. But we gotta be sure, right? This is for science. You see, me doing this by myself, stupid. Me doing it, documenting it on camera, science. Okay? And I tell my students that. What's the difference between science and stupidity? Documentation. Yeah, it's still kind of bad. But it's better than the juice. I'm going to guess it has to do with that carbonated water. You know, they're going to have that orange flavor, a little orange tartness, and then a lot of it is just the fizziness. So let's see if that also extends to this. By the way, again, do you guys have the marshmallow Coke? This was the next in line after the Stardust Coke, which I loved. Thought that was fantastic. Or did you see? I don't, because I can't see what you guys see. Is there? Oh no. Yep, that's Krampus. It's just, you know, it's just a reflective monitor. And I just didn't want the reflection to be distracting, so that's okay. This isn't distracting. Thank you for the cameo, Krampus. You guys like Krampus though, right? It's not like, oh, that's distracting and annoying. It's like, oh, that's sweet and endearing, right? That's what we're going for. I like seeing it when, you know, other people, like other YouTubers, their cats get involved. So I figured, maybe not the worst. Wow. It wasn't as bad as I thought, I think. Let's try again. Yeah. Remember we talked about the sweet cardboard with the apple? It's sweet cardboard and water. I'm surprised that these like artificial craziness here, that they're not as bad tasting as the natural stuff. I thought they would be way worse. So I felt this, you know, that cardboard flavor and then sort of a building up of sweetness and or sourness, and that's when I was like, no. But then when I spit it out, I realized it didn't go over the top with the sourness. So, cool. Pets are awesome. I'd be worried about the dude who gets mad seeing other people's pets. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Usually Krampus will like jump up here so it gets in the way of stuff. Or he meows too much. And I forget what I'm saying. And that's... Sorry, Krampus. He heard the sound. Now this is interesting. So this does smell sweet. Not sweet. It's that level of like licorice when you smell it. It's not sweet. It's like an herbalness. I don't know, but it tickles my nose. This is really unusual. Okay. Yep. Oh! That one doesn't deserve a second try. Which means, of course, it deserves a second try. It's not, yeah, that ain't it. The original taste of this is something kind of similar to like a really overly sweet cream soda. Oh, but this tastes like there's the cardboard, there's too much sourness, and then there's a plastic aftertaste. Ugh, and that's making me feel kind of sick to my stomach. So what else can we put in there? I think we're done with the drinks except the beer. This is a Heineken with no alcohol, pure malt quality Please be a twist. It's not a twist off. Uh-oh. Oh. Mm. Uh-huh. 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 Oh, almost. There we go. Yay. I don't know, how many of you hated seeing that? People hate seeing that when I do that. All right. It smells like lasagna? Okay. It's just sour. No, it really needs that sweetness to balance it out. Deal with you later. All right. I guess the candy is going to be really sweet. I'm going to try something else. I didn't hate it, but I was a little worried. Yeah, I think a lot of people get that way. Let's try the cheddar sour cream. It's nice and fresh. Smells okay. Oh, I hate it. Huh. I mean, the end, it does taste like just an overly crispy potato, but wow, that was awful. Let me try to describe it. It's just greasy. It's bitter. It's a little sour. This is one of those things that you would eat like if you were starving. If you were, it's okay. You know, if you go like you go camping like every summer or something. And so you got your gear, or you have like a cabin or something. So you have your stuff that's for camping. Let's say that you forgot you had chips for like 8 years. And then you find them and you say, I wonder, and you open them up and they're still appearing non-fungal, you know? So you try them. It's like that. It's like there's something that went bad. They're passable, but there's just something missing. That's what this tastes like. I hope that was descriptive for those of you in such an experience. Yeah, that was it. So this one I thought might be kind of interesting. It's candy and popcorn. Oh, that was not how I wanted to open it. It's got Snickers, so it looks like we've got popcorn with like literally just pieces of Snickers on there. Nope. 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 It's just oil. Oh my goodness, it's awful. It's just oil. Oh. 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 Who does this? I've never had those. So that's my first introduction. So I do wonder how they're going to taste afterwards, after this wears off. Wow. Oh. No. No. It's just oil. Like, it's just oil. Love your hair. Greetings, Wildcard. It's a wig. I was out trying to buy the stuff and I realized, oh no, what time is it? And I didn't have time to do my hair, so I put a wig on. Is that a robot over my right shoulder here? This is a air filter. Air filter. I think it was a great description. Just ate some chips today. Okay, perfect. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. All right. Let's, I'm trying to think, like, do I want to build up? I guess so. I guess we'll build it up. Let's go ahead and try this. This comes with a little fork. Okay, so this is our honey rice cake, which is, again, should be microwaved, I think, but I guess it's okay. No, I don't think it needs to be microwaved. Let's do it. Let's try it out. Can you see everything? Okay, cool. Yeah, let's just get a big mouthful. So this should have like honey, maybe sugar. I mean, it looks nice, you know, it's nice. I still had beer in that one. Wow, this is just a mess, which is good. That's what I was hoping. Just oily. Now, I don't know if I'm picking up a hint of sweetness or if it's cinnamon and I just associate cinnamon with sweetness. So let's just be extra sure. I hope there's no like, don't exceed this many drops at this many hours. Oops. Don't follow what I'm doing, kids. I'm being dumb. Okay. Yeah, that was bad. That was really bad. It was like grease and it was slick. Like it was juicy grease. With cinnamon on it. That ain't it, man. That ain't it. That just ain't it. I'm gonna take a mental break for just a second. I'm gonna check what you guys have to say. Your reaction is a lot like the time I tried bacon covered in chocolate. It ruined both. Oh, that's too bad. I think chocolate bacon, I mean, that sounds doable, right? Like, maple bacon's really good. What does the air filter taste like on Sweet Blocker? See, Paris, you're asking the questions. I don't know. I'm not gonna, I mean, we can try fabric. Fabric. Do what I say, not what I do, I know, right? Can bacon be ruined? I thought it was impossible. I think it can. If you're given enough, like, greasy, non-crispy bacon, like that really, I don't know. How do you guys like your bacon? I like mine very crisp if I'm gonna eat it. Otherwise, I think bacon is too salty. I prefer it uncured. So the Korean version, which is the samgyeopsal, it's like the 3-layer meat or 3-layer flesh. It's like a thick cut bacon concept. It's from the same part as the pork belly, but it's not cured. It's not smoked, so it's just raw meat, and then you grill it, and it's really good. I do really. You like bacon bits? Just kidding. Just not floppy. Yeah, who likes floppy bacon? Who likes that? Like the chew of it? I don't know. Just really seems gristly to me. Any point between medium rare and full on burnt is fine. Nice. Yeah, I like it very like crisp. Like if you pick it up, it's just out. That's how I like the bacon. I'm really sad because I love this cookie place. This cookie place is really good, and I like them because their cookies taste very. They taste very American, quite frankly. Every time I have like an American friend that is visiting, I always let them try this when they're visiting this area because I haven't found anything like it outside of this area. And I love these. It smells okay. Let's get a nice big piece. This is a chocolate walnut cookie. And I mean, it's... Nope. At first it was kind of like a scone, but really dry. And then it just got really oily. You can't taste any of the chocolate. You know, it's weird because, I mean, chocolate has a flavor. Obviously it's enhanced by sugar, but I mean, it has a flavor. You don't taste it. It just tastes like a mouthful of dry oil. Wow. This is, maybe it's doing its job. Really put me off eating forever. This one's a brownie cookie. Salted brownie cookie. So it's going to have that salt on there. Actually, you can kind of still see that all those dark pieces, those are the salted pieces. So let's try it salt first. Nope. Nope. Try something implicitly salty or sour. The problem is if we go for something that is not really sweet, it's not going to change it. Because I have tried it with things like cheese, for example. It doesn't change the flavor. It's just cheese. So that's why I got stuff that is, it does contain sugar, just varying levels of it. We're going to save the candy and stuff for last. But I just wanted to try varying levels of sugar. So this is like a brownie. And yeah, it's not good. That's salt. Because the salt is supposed to balance out the sweetness, but if there's no sweetness. But again, it's really strange because I cannot taste the chocolate. It's a brownie. How do you not taste the cacao, That's really weird. I mean, it's I guess it's a little bit there, but cotton candy, pickled cotton candy, gross. Cotton candy must taste like cotton. Yeah, I'm assuming something that's just pure sugar, and that's what I avoided too, like pure sugar. I would just assume it just dissolves in your mouth at the end. That answers my question. I wonder if it was ruining everything. No, it doesn't ruin everything. It just cuts out sugar. So if you have something like a bread, sometimes that's okay. The rice that I tried though, that was pretty bland. It just tasted like absolutely nothing. It was really odd. But if you have something that is oily, like a steak or a fish, a cheese, something like that, butter, those kinds of flavors, doesn't make any difference whatsoever, which is interesting, So this is our pecan. How do you do it? Pecan? Which one do you like? Oh. No. I don't know. When you get a piece of bread and you got some butter on it and you're just like, yeah, I could live off this forever. There's just something about how the two came together so perfectly, that piece of bread and butter. That's kind of where this was at. Yeah. Kind of like if you get a piece of buttery toast, but soft. Not terrible, but probably not what it's supposed to taste like. But not terrible. Yeah. This is one of those you could live off it with a coffee. I did get some new coffee. I don't know if you guys are interested in coffee reviews. I could just post them. Now we're on the candy. I'll start with Skittles because that one was specifically requested. Finally, wild berry Skittles. Finally. And by the way, that's how it opens. So you can seal it back up when you're done. Thank you, Korea. So let's just taste the rainbow, huh? Let's just get one of each color and taste the rainbow. You can see how excited I am about this, huh? It's that green. Come here, green. All right, so we got all the colors. What are the colors? I don't know if they're different in Korea versus the States. Berry punch, wild cherry, melon berry, strawberry, and raspberry. I know this dish. I know it. I know it. That's bad. Ugh. But I know it. Ugh. Okay. Do you ever find very old Skittles in your uncle's work truck on the farm, and it's like the color has been gone. It's just been out in the sun for way too long. Somebody forgot about it, and somehow it just aged, and it's been sun aged. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or you find something like this in a really like old kind of convenience store that sells all kinds of stuff, including like fishing bait, and they sell like diapers, and they sell peanut butter from a company you've never heard of before, right? Like a general store, old-timey mountain style. And then you find like these dusty Skittles in like tucked away in the back, and you're just like, this packaging I've never seen. It's so old, I've never seen it, and it's covered in dust. And then you eat it anyway. That's how these taste. They're very, very plasticky. Very plasticky. But I know as a kid, I probably would have enjoyed that to an extent. They're very plasticky. It's almost got like a bubblegum taste until it's just overwhelmingly plastic and kind of oily as the time. Yeah. I've always felt, let's see, they look like a bleached coral, like the dead reef. Marshmallow is pure sugar. I did want to include, yeah, one thing, especially because I don't like marshmallows. Look, guys, my thought process, I don't know, does anybody get it? That you're going to do this, it's going to be live, people are going to react to it. And so you're like, yeah, let me do this stuff that's absolutely awful, and I know it's going to be bad. No? Anybody? That's, I mean, to me, that's the fun. Let's see. Pecan at home, pecan, if I'm being fancy, gotcha. They look like bleached coral, like the dead reef. Yeah, exactly. Those Skittles, like they've seen things. We're gonna try, I guess, you know, a similar concept to Skittles. It's got a hard outer shell that's kind of crispy. You chew it, it's a chewy interior, except these are sour. And again, I mean, taste the rainbow. That's right. This one's got 4 flavors as opposed to the 5 from the Skittles. And again, it's a little bit sour. I was expecting very sour. It's like I put plastic in my mouth. Let's chew it. It's like the Skittles, if the Skittles were from like a East German factory. So the same concept. It's left out in the, you know, the middle of nowhere. It's overly bleached, you know, but from an East German factory. Yeah. Waste. I'm gonna give the mint a try. Now this one I was pretty interested in. Give the mint a try. Oh my god, East German Skittles. Yeah, I just had, yeah. You just enjoy spending time with friends, no matter what the food is. We're good. I mean, I like mint. Oily plastic. Didn't taste the mint. Now there's the mint coolness, but not a mint flavor. Just the mint coolness. Interesting. There's no mint flavor there. Krampus? What are you doing? He's being Krampus. Huh. I don't know. I guess I was expecting similar to that, but I thought there would be a flavor of the mint, not a feeling of the mint. I don't know. Is mint a feeling or is it a flavor? What do you think? I mean, it's a flavor, right? Because peppermint and spearmint, those taste different. So it's a flavor. It's also a feeling. But is mintiness, I guess mintiness, would you say that's a flavor? Would you say that's a feeling? Like spiciness, that's a feeling. It's not a flavor. Your individual peppers can have different flavors to them, but the spiciness itself is a feeling. Is that the same as mint? I mean, is it classified that way, like by food scientists? I don't know. You call the mint a flavor, but it definitely comes with a sensation or feeling. So mint maybe is a flavor, but mintiness is a sensation. Maybe. I hear stories of people primed for certain tastes, go to another country and think the food tastes fake. Oh, interesting. Like Germans think that American pop tastes like toothpaste or something. Probably remembering that wrong. No, definitely. A friend of mine was saying that the Korean Coke Zero tastes like beef broth, which is interesting. Menthol. So menthol, would you say menthol's a flavor, though? I don't know. Because menthol is like, that's definitely a sensation, right? You can rub it on, you know, you can Vicks Vapor Rub it, smell it. So we got this, we got these, and I'm leaving the marshmallows for last. So these are Hershey's Overloaded, if you guys don't know what these are. They come in two, I guess, nuggets. And they are peanut butter, caramel, nuts, and what's it called? Pretzels. And they are covered in chocolate. So we'll give that a go. Let's see. It's more than a feeling, more than a feeling. Exactly, exactly. I've wondered this for a while. There's a constant competition to have spicier peppers. Is there a competition for cooler mints, and can mint have the same variations and community as hot sauces do? I don't know. I would love that. I have been trying to make like really, really, really sour stuff. So I do have just pure, what's that one? Malic acid. So I have that. Let's go for this. It's melting in my hand. Nice big bite. It's like clay. It's like clay that has pieces of like twigs in it. With that little cake, you know, it had that kind of, okay, it tastes kind of like, can oil be, I mean, plastic is oil, right? It's oil. It's a hydrocarbon, isn't that what that is? So plastic oil. That's what it tastes like, plastic oil. A lot of this stuff is tasting like plastic oil. Interesting. Interesting. But yeah, it tastes bad. With the other one, you know, at least it didn't taste like it was supposed to, but it did taste like buttery toast, you know, so it wasn't terrible. So I finished it. This is just like, why am I chewing? You know, why am I eating this? So, not the best. It sounds like everything tastes artificial then. It does. It does. But even the apple tasted like cardboard, you know. The grape was terrible. Never again. I tried cactus fruit a few weeks ago. It tasted meh at the time. I've had a slight craving for it recently. It's a good time, especially if you get it nice and ripe. We used to have this fence in our backyard where we lived, and there was our neighbor just had all this land, but where our fence was, they never came there. So it was kind of unkept. It was pretty wild, and there was just a bunch of just cactus or other you know, Southwest kind of things just growing there. And once a year or so, we would get like a cactus fruit. So it was just there. And so it was, you know, myself, my sister, my brother, like trying to balance to get over this fence, to get above the cactus itself to grab this fruit. We didn't have like, you know, a ladder and stuff. So we were all just kind of on top of each other, you know, trying to get this thing. And yeah, it was very prickly and such. And sometimes you get one, it's just like full of seeds. And other times it was just really, really good. So I have very fond memories of cactus fruit. I'm worried that this like chewy toffee, this is a Walker's, I don't know what country it's from, Great Britain or something. Yeah, it's English creamy, I don't know. But I feel like that's gonna mean plastic and oily. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it. Plastic and oily. Hmm. There's an interesting, like, almost a sweetness to it. That's why I'm worried. There's a reason. It's a chocolate covered, very chewy caramel. One thing I like about the raisins is when you eat them, they have kind of a cooling effect right away. I'm still getting that. This one I am chasing the cocoa. So it does have a dark chocolate coating. And I am tasting the cocoa, which is good. Not bitter. The caramel itself has no flavor, not greasy. It's just like chewing nothing. It's like chewing nothing. You know, so again, why eat it? And I forget this. I will put a link to the. This had a very interesting way to advertise, and you guys definitely have to see it. So it's very suggestive. It's very interesting. Yeah. So I've never had this, and I feel really sad. Maybe I have, but I don't remember. Because I want to enjoy it. So we'll just rip it. And yeah, you can just like rip them. You know, that's kind of the fun of it. Okay, it's sour, it's not sweet, but you still get the grape flavor. This is what I was wanting from the actual grape, was whatever natural tartness the fruit had, plus the grape flavor, just not sweet. And that's what this is. This is pleasant. Enough. Like, not enough to finish, but it's pleasant enough. Yeah, I'm surprised. Is it that long commercial? It's an entire series of commercials. There's like the guy that visits, like the courier, the mail carrier that visits the girl, and the woman, she's like getting married, and then the guy, her fiance feels really inadequate. Like, it's that one. Yeah, it's that one. So I've never seen the long ones. I think I've had the short version. But all right, so after this, I'm definitely gonna go die. So let's try the marshmallow. This is the one that's gonna be the sweetest without being pure sugar. You know, I was worried. Maybe I taste a little sweetness. Maybe it's not working. No, it's working. It's all the marshmallow texture, you know, you bite into it, it's fluffy, and then it almost turns into a foam kind of in your mouth. There's not really a sweetness. I can taste the vanilla. I don't know if I like this better. I'm not the biggest fan of marshmallows because they're overly sweet. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't want that whole big piece in my mouth. You know, I think that's kind of how I feel, is that, you know, it's not offensive, but it's just uninteresting. There's not enough vanilla flavor to get me eating this. And if I just want to chew something, I'll chew gum. You know, it's just not interesting enough to keep eating. And I think that's part of the point of how it's supposed to help wean you off of eating sugar. You know, eating something like this, or like these long candies, yeah, they're not bad. You know, the Skittles, you know, I did have a big handful of them, right? If you eat one Skittle at a time, but that part of your brain that lights up because, oh my God, sugar, that response isn't there. So instead of saying, yeah, this is a nice snack, you're thinking, I mean, why am I even eating this? So, you know, that's it. So if you guys are interested, you know, I don't think I have any discount codes or nothing, but I just got this on iHerb. Not to be confused with Herbalife, which is an MLM, but iHerb is just a very easy way for people to to get like health supplements and whatnot, tea, those kinds of things. And it's the way that people in Korea definitely get their stuff, like foreigners especially. Things like vitamins that you're used to, like you're used to having certain brands or certain options. You know, I want a vitamin that's got this kind of thing, or it's made in this kind of way, or it comes in this kind of format. There's not a whole lot of variety in Korea, so it's just a lot easier to order these online. And that's where I got this. I think this was 16 USD, I think. And there's a lot of servings in here. Really, you're supposed to, yeah, I guess take one dropper like I was taking. But honestly, you could get away with 3 or 4 drops, 5 drops, half a dropper, and it does enough. You know, it does enough. So if you guys are interested in cutting out that sugar, yeah, give it a go. Otherwise, I'm gonna go take this wig off, because one of the bad things about wigs is that it can squeeze my head a bit much and kind of trigger a migraine. I do appreciate that you guys have taken the time, especially because it was so late for most of you. Yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Paris asks, has your view on foods changed after this? I'm not sure if it's one of those permanent changes. These days, you know, I have been trying to, like, I really appreciate convenience. I appreciate readily available portions. So things that are already packaged. I like stuff like that because I will eat too much, way too much. I have a video on binge eating stuff. So, you know, I do appreciate that, but now this is making me wonder, you know, what am I eating? And I know we do have that thought occasionally, right? I think that's a normal thought for people to have. But even still, this applies to everything, doesn't it? This applies to apples, it applies to rice, it applies to tomatoes, it applies to grapes. Those are all totally natural and perfectly fine foods. I had the same response to that. So can I really say I'm super put off by a cookie when I'm equally put off by an apple? You know, I'm not sure I really like changed my food philosophy, you know what I mean? But I don't know about that popcorn because of how greasy it was. I don't know if I'm gonna eat it. Yeah, I don't know. Because even after it tastes better, I know that all of that grease is still there. And that's very off-putting to me. Let's see. Other question, like eating anime. Yeah, I guess so. I exercised a bit today, but I only did 1 set at the maximum weight. Can I do those same lifts again tonight? It depends on what your goals are, but if your goals are, because usually for like a 1 RM, or maybe you're doing a 1, like how many reps did you do for the maximum weight? Maybe says, why are you so cute? Because you need glasses. Maybe that's why. You need glasses, sir. I'm a 40-year-old lady just being old. Okay. You can do that in more games in your future. There you go. Let's see. Maybe, yeah, can we not with the cute comments? Thanks. It's midnight here working with 2 beers. Yeah, you and me both. Honestly, the beer, out of most of this stuff, I would say the beer also tastes the closest to what it should taste like. Yeah. You know, it's missing the sweetness, but I mean, you still get the beerness to it. The cats are pretty cute. Yeah, no, the cats are cute as hell. Can we see? Can we see him? There he is. That's Chaco. Chaco is big. This is Krampus's son. And Krampus is like 5-6 kilos, which is what, 11 to 13 pounds, something like that. Chaco is like 9 kilos. He's like almost 20 pounds. He's big. And you can see he's just big. You know, he's not like some, you know, fatty boomalatti. He's just big. It's within his breed, His grandfather was 13 kilos, so he's 9. You know, he's definitely well within his breed standard. But he's just a big boy, and he's being a bigs, doing his big things. Yeah. Yeah, good. The beer's safe. Exactly. 6 reps in the set for my maximum weight. I would say that's fine to do again tonight then. Yeah. Because if you're trying to do like pushing for big like peaky muscles to like get the big bulges, stuff like that, you may typically you usually want to, at least for me, to do like a one day doing biceps, the next day you're doing now there's people that do like shoulders, biceps. I don't like to do that because if I'm exercising my triceps, then I'm pre-exhausting them when it comes time to do chest. And so if I work them out in the same exercise session, I may exhaust my triceps before I even start working on my pecs. And so I won't be able to push as much weight, not because my pecs can't do it, because my triceps can't do it, you know what I mean? So some people like to do that together. I personally don't. So I always did biceps, triceps, shoulders, back, chest, legs, off day, and then go again. So if you have your maximum weight sets for biceps, you're not going to do them again until like 6 days later. 6 or 7 days later. So that's why it's okay. You know, they're still going to be engaged when you're doing stuff like back, but they're not going to be so overused. And so for me, I was able to make good gains that way, despite obviously not having as much testosterone as somebody that's born male. So I was able to do that. But then there was this guy that we were both working out the same way. It was the 5x5, and he made no gains. So I'm adding weight like every time I have, like next time I'm doing biceps, I'm adding more weight. And then the next time I'm doing biceps, I'm adding more weight. And he just couldn't make gains to save his life. So it was very, very unusual that, but I do think it had to do with genetics. You know, my people are very easy to gain muscle and very easy to gain fat. It had to do with like seafaring and stuff. So that could be at play. My cousins, my brother, we're all just like big people. So yeah, I don't know. So if that works for you, but if you did a 6 reps in your max weight, yeah, you're fine to do it again. The brigades will make the muscles look better. Yeah, but better in which way? You know, bigger, more defined, tighter. So that's how you want to do it too. Hawaii sidecar. It sounds like what cops drink on a motorcycle. Yes, I'm still in Korea. Yes. Yeah, if you guys have like last questions, like leftover questions, I think for the video, once it's posted, I'm gonna cut this like last part of talking off, so we can chat for a second. What's frustrating is I really want to enjoy like a drink, and I'm surrounded by drinks, and none of them taste good. There's water, but does water taste good? Shane, I don't know why I blocked you. I'm gonna show that. Like and subscribe, everyone. Good. Another moderator just handled this. Oh, good. I should have a text thing too. Yeah. Here's my text thing that I forgot to put up. Wunderbar. We do a walking tour on the blocker. You know, I thought about that, and I might. I really, yeah, I thought about that, where I would go to different like restaurants and just like taste stuff. But I don't know how well I could do that, because I don't want to go to a place. I think maybe to buy it, take it out. But I would feel it's too wasteful. Because I would really just be like, burger, okay, next, you know. So I wasn't sure how to do that specifically. I thought maybe do it over several weeks and then put like a compilation video, maybe. Or to do it again with street food in the winter, because then it'll be easier to go to these little places, buy like a single bite of something, and be able to do it that way. So we'll see that. No, Shane, you weren't blocked. It's just when people post certain things, those things are blocked. Yeah. So for some reason, when you put like and subscribe, everyone, that post was blocked. What was the name of the chemical in the sweet blogger? So this is it's an extract from a leaf. I don't know how well you can see it, but I'll post it. I'll just type it too. But it's Gimnema. Gymnema. Gimnema. I had to practice that a lot because I was calling it Gimnema, Gimnema, Jimbro. So that's it. Might not be a good look to go to a restaurant and be disgusted. Yeah, I know, right? Especially if I've got a camera, and so for them to see me with a camera looking like I'm filming a video, it might be like, oh, great, they're going to come and talk about how great our food is, and maybe we'll get some more customers, and then I'll be like, spitting in the side cup or something. Nope. So yeah, I might wait for street food season. I think that'll be probably one that makes a little more sense in terms of food waste, and not causing any embarrassment to the workers. Yeah. Speaking of gym, right? I know. How many of us are going to be hitting the gym after this? Good. If there's like a market or a food truck festival, that I wish there was a food truck festival. The closest thing I've seen is a foreigner food festival, and there's just a lot of stands. I have seen one food truck in Korea twice. They sold fish and chips, and I thought it was really good. They did a really nice job, and they served it in sort of it was that kind of wax paper, but it was set up it looked like a newspaper, like the print. I just thought it was a really good concept. Koreans like fish. They like fried potatoes. It's easy. Why not? But I think they were having a hard time where they could temporarily park, because there's not a lot of parking space in Korea. Like parking on the street, that's not really a thing. More people will park on a sidewalk than a street, for example. So to pull over and sell something at the side of the road, it doesn't really work in terms of the traffic logistics. Yeah. Speaking of gym, stay healthy, chat. Yes. So again, if you guys are overly sugared, I do kind of stay away from sugar for a bit. I don't mind the drinks because they're no sugar. But I don't know. I don't like the fact that I'm so overly sugary. Don't forget the Latin festival. Ooh, that sounds exciting. A sidewalk burger, risky but science. A sidewalk burger. I'm thinking like a burger from a 7-Eleven. I don't mind. I don't mind putting my stomach to the test, but I don't know. I'm getting older, and I haven't eaten sushi in over a year because I had food poisoning, and it was bad enough to put me off of this. Anybody who knows me knows I love to eat sushi. It's like, what do you want to eat? And well, don't ask me because I'm just gonna say sushi. One of those things. I just haven't. I've never had food poisoning in my whole life. Because we used to leave food out I think this is the reason. We used to leave food out all the time. We didn't refrigerate most anything except for raw meat or milk. But, we'd leave rice out overnight with the rice cooker turned off. It wasn't like it was heating it up or nothing. Or we'd leave it with the rice cooker turned on. It didn't really matter. We left food out overnight. I'd leave sandwiches out in the sun in your car, and you just open it up and eat it. Hey, free warm sandwich, Never had food poisoning. I've eaten food with other people and they got food poisoning, but I didn't get food poisoning. And then this one time, I don't know. So we'll see. I've had to turn my black coffee into lattes. Just because it's harder for me to drink it, just harder on harder on the tum-tum. So I don't know how much I can handle street food these days, but I'm always willing to push it. So that's it. I just like I like to see, what can my body do. I like to do the extremes and stuff, and I think that's what was so frustrating and mentally debilitating in a way. After getting disabled, was just like I can't push my body physically as much as I want to. So it made me want to push it in different ways, like restricting my eating too much. So I'm not really good enough with flexibility training to stay on track, but I'm trying to turn that into my next thing where I'm pushing my body for flexibility. We'll see how that goes. But I just like that idea of just, what can the human body accomplish? That's why I don't mind steroids. I think steroids are just like a step up to do that. Just to see what could a body, accomplish. Because it's still a human body doing everything. Yeah, it's assisted with, anabolic steroids, but it's still a human body. It's not like we, put adamantium bones or something in there, right? It's still a body. It's still a heart. And it's hard. It's hard on the heart. It's hard on the liver. Bodybuilding is a very unhealthy sport, for sure. But that's the point. It's not to be perfect health. It's how far can I push myself, So I really like when people do the extreme stuff. I'm really a big fan of like extreme surgery, extreme plastic surgery, that kind of thing, extreme tattooing, just to see, where can the body go, I just think it's really cool. I don't know if I would ever go to get those extreme type of plastic surgeries, but I definitely appreciate that other people do it. I like following those people on Instagram or YouTube. And I just find it very interesting. What kind of life do you live now that you look so different from the average person? And I'm gonna turn this light off. So we're getting extreme migraine suddenly. Extreme. Do 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 do. Boo 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 boo. Let's turn that light off. I did buy a ring light, by the way. Finally. So we'll go for that. Let's see what you guys are saying. I have avoided every drug in my life except sugar. Sugar addiction is a beast. Oh yeah. I had a Japanese street food style burger. Oh, interesting. At an event where the bun was made of ramen noodles, melted and baked. It was really interesting and good. Was it hard to bite into? Just the texture? Same, that explains the story about the Uncle Skittles. Yeah. Yeah, who finds this like old bag of Skittles and you're just like, oh, so it's very easy to dare me to do food stuff. I had somebody bet me $1 that I wouldn't eat a whole spoonful of wasabi when we were at a Japanese restaurant, and I was like, yeah, wait. So that was $1 hard earned. But I just think it's it's fun. You're trying physics at the moment. Good. Push the physics. Noodles and bread are made out of flour. That's interesting. Yeah, definitely. Horrible at math too, so push it. Actually, one thing I'm trying to do is work on they're not Legos, but they're like a knockoff of Legos. You guys probably are familiar with the Gardner's multiple intelligences, and if you're not familiar, the basic rundown is that there's 8, and he's looking into 9 different types of intelligence, and the way these are verified or approved as a type of intelligence is, number 1, there's a way to improve it. So it's not just like for example, if you have really weak tendons, people call it like double jointedness and stuff. There's no way that somebody who doesn't have that condition can stretch their body enough to fake it, that kind of thing. So that would be a type of example. But you have to be able to improve it. There has to be like a basic, intermediate, and expert level kind of laid out. And then it also has to be associated with a part of the brain. So if you were to damage like a part of the brain associated with math and logic, you lose or have your ability hindered to do well with math and logic, that kind of thing. So one of the types of intelligence is like visual spatial, and I'm awful. I'm so bad with it. I like if you ask me, every time I've had to help people move, including myself, and they always look at the item like a sofa, and then they look at the door frame. They're like, I don't think we can get that through there. And I always think, what do you mean? How do you know? Let's just push it. Let's just see. I really can't. I have a hard time rotating stuff mentally. And so when I'm looking at these instructions for how to build this Molang is like this fat rabbit character, and I'm trying to build it out of these blocks, it hurts my brain. It really hurts. So I think I'm going to do that this week. So maybe that's what I'm going to push myself to do. Yeah, I can't. I would say I'm stronger. Actually, we can pull it up just to show you guys the different types of intelligence. Why not? Let me move this ring light real quick so you can actually see the screen. Move these spit cups. Ugh. Let's there's like everything in the way as I'm trying to type. Gardner's multiple grape. One of my things that I wrote for my psych degree, it included that. It was like the paper was mostly about that. And I put something like, it was the Gardner in the study clues on multiple intelligences. Yes. That did it. Oh, it's so stupid. I love it. I love being stupid. I love like those really stupid titles. And then I wrote about the developmental stages, but we had to choose a famous person, so I did Robert Oppenheimer, and I put the title was something like going on a fission trip with J. Robert Oppenheimer. So you're welcome. Now you get to hear that. Are you blessed now that you've heard it? You better be. You better feel blessed. So that's it. It took me till 28 to parallel. You know what? For parallel parking, for me, because it's I found out where I have to stop the car to turn it. Once I figured that out, it was done. That's how I figured. So I couldn't try to measure like the cars or the space or anything. It was like, get as close as you can, and then pull your car back until it gets to this point, and then whip it was a step process as opposed to a visual process. That made it much easier. Maybe that could help too. Besides, puns bless me, you're welcome. You're welcome. So let's check, I don't know, can we make this bigger? Once we go to this Wikipedia, cool. Because this will make it nice and big. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So there's musical intelligence. That's one I just don't use anymore. But actually I can play 12 instruments. And first time I went to college without the GI Bill, so before the military, I was paying for it partially with a music scholarship, even though I wasn't majoring in music whatsoever, for playing bassoon. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I hope we aren't giving you a migraine, but keeping the chat going. No, turn off the light was very helpful. I'm just dizzy right now. That's enough. Bodily kinesthetic, very bad at this one for me. Very bad at this. I learned something with mirror neurons and autism. I don't know if I have autism, but I learned something about it, and I thought, I wonder if something related. So if you have somebody with autism, like a child with autism, and you're trying to teach them like some moves for a dance or something, you could show them, for example, okay, so do this. Maybe that's the move, some little kid dance, whatever. They're going to see your palm. So for them, they believe they have to see their own palm because they see the palm. So when they're going to try to do the movement, they're going to do it this way to copy you. That's how they're going to copy you. So if you want to show them how to do it, you should probably get side by side and then show them this way. So you can have their hand out this way so they can see it more from your perspective. You're seeing the back of your hand. The other people are seeing the front of your hand. So if you're doing the dance, you should also see the back of your hand, not the front of your hand. So something like that can help students that or children that have autism. So that's one thing that's helpful. Also for dancing, you know, if you're watching a person dance and they're moving to your left, most people know you have to move to the right. But for somebody with autism, they'll directly mirror what they see. So that would be a lower bodily kinesthetic one. But I don't know. I think, but again, you can improve it, right? And so when I was in the military, I mean, there's stuff that I have muscle memory from the military and it's still there, you know, like where to hold your rifle, you know, it's there, that kind of thing. So again, that's what makes it an intelligence. Even if you're not very strong in it, you're able to improve as long as you do it. People smart, I don't know if I'm people smart. I think I'm improving, but naturally. Word smart, I guess so. Logic smart, I guess so. Nature smart, I'm working on that one. Self smart, being able to analyze yourself. Why do you do certain things? Also working on it. Visual spatial, not really, no. Yeah. What about for you guys? Musical? Anybody here? Or which one do you think is like your worst? I would say naturally, my worst is visual, spatial, or bodily kinesthetic, naturally. I'm a very awkward, I love dancing, but I'm a very awkward dancer. So I love it, but I'm just not that good. For dancing, it can help if the instructor is facing the same direction as me. Sometimes it doesn't matter until I try to closely copy move right, and that's where it becomes hard to mirror it enough. Your worst is musical, okay. I think for me, musical, word, and logic, I think those are natural smarts for me. And then body smart, you learn that. People smart, I'm learning still. Self smart is what I'm learning. Nature, I think I have an affinity for it, but it's also what I'm learning. And visual spatial, I'm not learning. I should. Your worst is music and people smarts. I might be worst at music, though I love music and playing piano, but it's a huge learning curve. I would say musical, love music, but I couldn't tell you what my favorite song is. It just makes me feel. Okay. For me, my bad part with music is I could never know the note. So some of my colleagues or peers, when you play a note, they knew what it was. Like if they heard a C on a piano, they would just know. I never knew if I was out of tune. I could feel if I had to match a pitch, like with your instrument. I could feel that you could feel the wave difference, because instead of it being ba together, there's like a wah 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 kind of frequency or wavelength thing that happens. Amplitude, I don't know, but that happens. That I could feel, and so if I would try to make it sharper or flatter to compensate, like I knew how to fix it, I just couldn't. If I played a note and you played a note separately, I couldn't tell that I was out of tune. So that was the part that sucked. I was pretty tone deaf, I guess, in that sense. I don't know if tone deaf has a different meaning, but for me, that's what it meant. The dissonance, yeah, that wah 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 kind of sound. Weightlifting gave me much better coordination for any sport. I didn't expect that. Marching for me, because we had to march and do stuff with our weapons. That was one for me that really helped. To me, it was martial arts. Yeah, that's another one that's really helpful. Word smart, super strong. Logic smart, kind of strong. Have some weaknesses in almost the others, but also some strengths. Okay. Pitch matching is its own thing. Best learned as a kid. Yeah, but wouldn't that fall under musical? That's kind of where I'm thinking. You have trouble matching rhythm. I think rhythm I'm okay with. Actually, I think rhythm I am okay with, because we had very rhythmic music, that we would dance to, like all, you know, when your family, like your cousins and stuff, you get together and you just kind of like dance. So the music was very like heavy, like salsa or reggae, that kind of stuff. And so we would, you know, kind of move to the beat. So in that sense, I'm not awkward. It's just if I'm trying to coordinate my arms a certain way, or to move a distance towards the left and a distance towards the right, I'm not good at keeping those even. That's the way that I'm not good. But in terms of rhythm, I can match rhythm at least. So that's helpful when you're trying to dance. So if you just kind of move to the rhythm a little bit, at least you don't look so awkward. So that, I would say, to start there. I always wanted to train my ear to hear notes. Why not? Why not do it? Why not train it? Why aren't you? That's my new thing that I'm trying, is why am I not doing that if I want to do it? You guys should check out my pal Foot the Shags. Their mother had an irregular heartbeat, so the children were born without rhythm. Is that a thing? That's interesting. Is that a thing though? I wonder if that's a thing. Talent is a myth. No, I disagree. I think you can have a natural affinity, but it just means that you're more likely to do something because it already comes naturally to you, so it's easier for you to progress. I would say having a talent, like an affinity for something, let's say that everyone's a beginner trying to learn musical notes. If you have a natural talent, you're going to progress through the first steps, the first like stages, very quickly. You're still going through the stages, you're just able to do it quickly. I just remember my mother was trying to learn how to play the piano, and she had just a very simple ode to joy, you know, dun 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 dun, you know, one hand, that kind of thing, single note playing, and she was very frustrated. And I was 7, 8, and I said, Mom, what's going on? You know, why are you sad? And so she was telling me that she's trying to play this song, and this note goes to this key, 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 but I just can't get it. And I said, oh, is it like this? Dun 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 dun. And I just played it. So I still, of course, had to learn the notes and the keys, but somehow I was able to put them together so fast where my mother wasn't. But of course, I still had to practice. You know, you still have to stretch your fingers, you still have to do all the practice and stuff. But out of the two of us, which one of us would be more likely to pursue being a concert pianist? Probably me, because of that natural talent for it. But the idea that somebody's just talented and they don't have to practice, no, that's definitely a myth. Let's see. Have you and the Prophet of Zod discussed what topic for a video you want to do? Not yet. So we should. I would like to hopefully get something together this week, because I do have some time. So that's good. And also for myself and Paulogia. So hopefully that'll be good. It's good to talk with them. There's a music instructor who gave his kids such a good ear training that he can name and sing every note in complex piano chords with 5+ notes. Video is on YouTube. Yeah, and again, it's just you teach them something. Well, I'll say the way it's viewed is backwards, like the kids find talent, yada yada, at myself, not you. Oh no, definitely. The reason that I'm like specific about this stuff. So if I ever seem like I'm trying to correct you or something, I try to be specific because I have to explain these concepts to my students, and they're not only younger, right? They're not only learning these things for the first time, but they're also learning it in a totally different language. So I try really hard to be very precise, and so doing that in a classroom in front of your students, kind of hard to see if it makes sense in general, right? Because a lot of times the students might say, oh yeah, I get it, but really they don't. So I try to run it by people like you guys. I'm running it by you just to, like, did anything I say not make sense? Do you agree with what I said? Does it follow some kind of logic? So that way it sort of lets me figure out, is this a phrasing or piece of lecture or something that I can give to the students and it's going to make sense to them. Yeah, and that's, I guess, where the interpersonal part is difficult for me. I have a hard time like, guessing what people can understand. So I just don't. I kind of stopped. Like, if a student says, teacher, I don't get something, I say, well, it's my job to help make it clear, but it's your job to tell me what part you don't understand. Is it the entire concept together? Is it where we go from A to C, you're not really understanding B? Is it just the vocabulary? Did you not have this background in another subject? So when we're trying to explain more of it in this subject, like for some stuff like the rain shadow effect, you need like a science, not chemistry, some kind of science background, like physical science. If they don't have that, and I'm trying to explain the rain shadow effect using information that they should already know or that I assume they already know, they're gonna not really get it. So, where they're. So instead of me trying to figure it out, like, oh yeah, this is why you don't get it, I just ask. I stopped trying to guess. And I said, that's your job. Your job is to figure out where you don't get it. What do you get and what don't you get? Tell me what you do get, and then any parts that you forgot, then that's the part you don't get, we'll go through it. That's not my job to, did you not get it because you were asleep? Did you not get it because you're thinking about something else, you just weren't paying attention and misunderstood it fundamentally? How can I guess? So I just don't. I just gave up. Like, when people say, why would somebody do this, or why did that person say that, or my friend said this and I think this, I'm like, just ask them. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. I don't know. In the end, it's always a mix. What we're born with and do without context pushes us. I don't really know how to say it. No, it's true. You have a natural ability for something. You have a natural affinity for something. This is usually based on just like genetic predisposition. So for example, some people are genetically predisposed to easily put on muscle mass. So somebody like that, when they're exposed to sports, they realize they are responding faster physically than their peers. They're going to get praise for that, like, wow, you're doing a really good job, you're kicking that ball really hard, you're hitting that ball really hard, whatever, lifting those weights really well, the other students aren't doing as well. Have you thought of this? Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah, I'm going to pursue it. And it seems engaging and fun for you because it's not super difficult of a struggle for you to gain muscle or have that eye-hand coordination for tennis or something, right? But you have to be exposed to it. So if you have that genetic predisposition to put on muscle mass really well, or you have really good eye-hand coordination, but you're spending your time in the house taking care of one of your parents who's incredibly obese, and you don't have time to really interact with other students, and your parent is homeschooling you and doesn't expose you to any kind of physical activity because they themselves can't do any kind of physical activity, you may never know that you have this natural ability. You just may never know it. That's a great style of teaching. It makes a student understand where they are in the learning process and take action. I agree, because that's also where I have to figure out, as an adult, what part of this don't I understand? Where am I losing this? Where am I disconnected? And at one point, it was because of the word theory and how theory is meant in science and how theory is meant in layman's terms. And then there's like almost a third way that theory is used in psychology. And I was reading this thing and I really was having trouble understanding it because it didn't really match what I knew of a scientific theory or of a daily theory, like an everyday English theory. So I was like, all right, well, a scientific theory should be this, but what the author is explaining doesn't match it here because they said this. And what a everyday theory is this, but the author is not matching it because of what they said here. And then I found the author and I emailed him and asked him about it. And I was like, hey, I was reading this, I'm new to this, I don't know if you have time, but here's what I understand, and here's something that I read that doesn't match that understanding, and here's what I understand the other one, but here's what you said that doesn't match that I understand. And my misunderstanding, is there a third option for this word that people use in psychology and I just didn't know? So yeah, that was really helpful, really helpful. It's sort of a hybrid, by the way. That's the answer. It's sort of a hybrid. It's constantly being tested. It has to be constantly tested, because there's so many different types of people, different types of cultures, and cultures change over time. So what maybe worked as a theory to explain a set of data, maybe that's not true in this culture, or maybe that's not true now in this changing time period, which changed the culture. So it has to constantly be tested as if it's almost as if it's a hypothesis, or as if it's an educated guess, but it is currently our understanding. So it's currently our scientific theory, but we have to keep testing it as if it's just a guess, in order to let it maintain its status as a scientific theory. And I don't know, for like evolution, it's almost like, I guess it does undergo that, and maybe I just don't know because I'm not an evolutionary biologist, I'm not studying that. But in terms of like psychology, like you're constantly testing things, constantly. You're like, well, according to the blah blah theory, so we're going to see if it's true in this case. Well, after we establish that, so according to the blah blah theory, let's see if it's true in this case. So we have to keep testing it. So it's cool, you know. I just didn't expect it. Just didn't know. But I guess that's the logic part, right? Just to kind of lay everything out and say, all right, so here's, you know, where are we missing? And I think that's what was really good in the military, because there's times when you want to like freak out and you can't. You have to break everything down in like logic. And I can be scared later. Right now I got to do this thing. And so that's helpful. But it also does make people think that I'm maybe cold, or that I don't really care. People that know me, they know that I care, but I do still come off as kind of cold, overly analytical, playing the devil's advocate too often, pushing people to do something when they need to take a break. Like if they're just, so I ask them, I can't guess, I just can't guess. And so I asked my friend yesterday when they were having sort of a freak out. I said, do you need sympathy, or do you need motivation? Because I can't guess. So if somebody, like if you ever talk to me and you're just complaining about something, I'll ask you, did you need an ear of support, or are you looking for suggestions? Like, are you looking for advice? I can't guess. I just really can't. I just can't. Can other people guess? Like, is this something other people just know? I just feel very, like, I feel like a robot that was like made by aliens, and it's piloted by an alien who has studied humans but keeps making mistakes. That's how I feel. Yeah. As far as I know, the theories in psychology are more like view frames. You need to test them and decide which one suits better, and how much it does. Yeah, it's interesting, I think. I don't know if I have any other words for it. I think one of the parts that's interesting with it is the fact that if I enter like a field like geology, there's a lot of stuff that's already been established, you know. The end. And oh yeah, these theories exist, and that's it, you know, it's over. Okay. But in terms of like psychology, yeah, maybe this theory still explains things in certain cases, but what about in cases of like cult mentality? And you're raised in a cult, does the theory that, you know, is this a general theory, or is this a general theory for most people, but in the cases of people raised in cults it doesn't work? So I like that you can still have all these theories well established, and still there's a way for you to find a new way to look at it and kind of, you know, bring your experience, you know, because I was raised in a cult, and so just to bring that experience where most people probably aren't, right? And to look at it a different way and say, wow, this does make sense. What about for somebody who holds really extreme views, you know? So it's, I don't know, I think it's cool. Like, you can still figure stuff out, you know? You got to be careful with shopping for diagnosis, though. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think that with a diagnosis, I think that's step one, where I feel some people end it there. That I think is step one. So if you find out that you have diabetes, step two is how to manage it, and step three is the management. So if you find out that you have, you know, major depressive disorder, step one. Step two is what you can do about it, and step three is managing it, you know. So I think that can be part of a problem where some people see it as the finish. Like, oh, I'm this way because I have depression. That's it. There's nothing I can do. And currently, to my understanding of the research, there's nothing you can do to cure depression, but you can manage it. Just like there's nothing you can do to cure diabetes, but you can manage it, you know. So that doesn't mean just give up and eat a bunch of crap because you have diabetes anyway. It means, you know, figure it out. Make it work for you. So if you have something like, you know, ADHD, if you have something like bipolar, that's something you have to manage, you know. So I think it's important to be diagnosed, or to at least try to figure out on your own, if you don't have access for whatever reason to mental health care. I think it's a good idea to try to figure out what it could be, so you can try to manage what's going on. It is nice to have an answer. Like, for me, it's nice to know these are just migraines. I'm not dying. I'm not having a stroke. It doesn't get rid of the migraines, but it was nice to know that this is not inherently like gonna kill me. I am now starting in this decade of my life. I'm at the part, I guess, where now I'm at an increased risk for a stroke because of my migraines. And that's good to know, you know? It's good to know. It's good to know, like, how many people, I mean, maybe you guys do know, because people that watch my channel tend to have more of an interest in learning about different things. But how many of the average person knows what a stroke looks like? Or if they were having a stroke, what does it feel like, you know? And there are times when I'm feeling really weird, and I'll tell the students, if I have this or this happen, please call an ambulance. That's what I tell them. Because I don't expect them to know. And then we do talk about it a bit. You know, this is what a stroke is, and this is how they happen, and it's not the end of the world as long as you can get immediate medical care. If you don't, you can die. So, yeah. Greetings, Purple. Let's see. Low carb, high fat helps with both. With both what? I manage depression pretty good now. It seemed impossible. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah. There were some dark hours. But the nice thing is that I can tell myself I felt like this before, and I got through it, and it got better, and these feelings went away. And that's nice to be able to say that. It doesn't help how I'm feeling now, but, you know, I can at least remember, you know, if I keep doing my stuff, you know, just wake up on time and go to work and do the things and just kind of keep myself moving forward, you know, this feeling will pass, and that's it. That's it. And it sucks because when you think about managing depression or managing diabetes or managing migraines, there's this misunderstanding that it just goes away, right? No. You still live with it. You just have ways around it. So, like, I know Like when I started having that really bad head pain, I know, let me turn this bright light off. I've got glasses to help with the light. I've got, all of this stuff to help with it. I know that if I take off the wig, it'll help. Putting my head on ice, that'll help. And I still have the migraine, but at least there are ways to manage it so it's not the absolute end of my day. You know what I mean? It ends a lot of my day, but it doesn't have to end my whole day. There are ways I can still lift weights. There are ways I can still do cardio. It's not how I did it before, but, it's managed. And I think that's where people forget. They like this idea of like an instant cure. Actually, people had some questions since we're talking about it. If you guys had any questions about weight loss and loose skin, because it was about half of my body weight. So I was like double my weight than I am now. And I did have a bunch of loose skin, and I had surgery and stuff for that, skin removal surgery. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask now since we're talking about that stuff. Diabetes management and depression, anxiety management, low carb, high fat. I think that would depend. I think it would depend. Yeah. Because for diabetes management, yes, probably. I don't know about the high fat specifically, especially for animal fats, because I know there is that kind of connection to diabetes. Low carb, probably something to help out. And also just, moving around more. That's another one. Depression, anxiety management, again, like what's the marker, right? So how much can a person be improved with that low carb, high fat? And that's probably going to be like one prong, you know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that people also kind of latch onto is that, okay, this is supposed to help. I read that this helps. And they switch to a low carb, high fat diet, and they're not having depression. They don't realize it's part of like a treatment plan. It's not the treatment. It's not a cure, definitely. That's another one, yeah. So I always try to, because when people ask me about migraine management, I tell them everything I do. And I mean everything. Even stuff like I have to wake up at the same time every day, because if I sleep too long, even on the weekends, even on my holidays, I'll get a migraine. I have to go to bed at the same time every day, because if I don't get the right sleep, then that happens. I can't run. If I see that there's like a light or a bus that I'm trying to catch, I can't really run. I can shuffle, I can power walk, and if I'm able to make it, cool, but I can't like sprint to catch a bus. And I have to just accept that I'm going to have to wait another 15 minutes for the next bus to come. That's part of the management. But I think a lot of people expect me to say, oh yeah, switch to the triptans. That really helps. Or, oh, you take 2 Excedrins with a coffee instead of 1 Excedrin with water. And that's kind of the stuff they expect. But really it's like, it's even stuff like the types of bras that I buy, which I know might sound odd because I don't know how many of you wear bras that are watching this. But it'll press on this muscle here. And this muscle, when it's pissed off, this one will cause weakness in my arm, and it'll also trigger a migraine for sure. It's why you see me adjusting while I'm sitting, because sitting too much on one side will tighten up this particular muscle. I don't know if it's normal for everybody with migraines. I do know it's normal for me because my migraines are caused by a secondary, it's like a side effect for a primary condition that's related to my nerves, and that's what this thing is. So I have to buy certain bras that fit a certain way, or buy clothes where I can get away without wearing a bra and still go to work and not have it look really funky. That's all part of migraine management, And so this idea that there's like a one shot, one kill, it's just not it. I'm not saying that you were saying that, but just for anybody curious. Movement is great, but it's hard to do stuff when you feel so low. That's the rub. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You might want to look into positive psychology, the actual psychology, if you want You can message me in Twitter or Discord or something. And I'll send you like a proper link to what positive psychology actually is, because in pop culture it turned into like, just think positive, and then the attraction of like to like will bring positive energy your way because you're sending out positive energy. It's not that. It's basically that certain things are associated with feeling it's like a fake it till you make it, really, kind of thing, where if you have depression and then you don't work, so like you get fired from your job, that makes your depression worse, definitely. And if you start gaining a bunch of weight, or you lose a bunch of weight, because some people eat a lot or they don't eat because of depression, that change in your nutrition will change how your body or your brain processes your depression. It'll make it worse, right? So all of those things, like going to work, going outside for a walk, going, taking a shower, these are not things that are curing your depression, but they're stopping it from getting it worse. And so that's kind of where positive psychology comes in. That's what it is. It's saying, how can we make you as a patient able to take that shower when you're really not feeling it? What's a way that you can find motivation to do that thing? If you really are feeling like, you know what, who cares? I don't want to meet my friends because secretly they hate me anyway. What can we find to motivate you to go out and talk to your friends, or to have a video call with somebody, even when you feel terrible? Because those things are going to prevent your depression from worsening. They're not going to fix it, but they're going to prevent it from worsening. And possibly even make you feel better about yourself, which might help kind of mitigate that depression, in addition to, all the other stuff that you should be doing anyway, any kind of medication you're taking, etc. So that's what positive psychology is. Please don't misunderstand that it's like Oprah, The Secret. I think that's one of the downfalls of psychology, is that there's so much pop psychology that it makes people think psychology is not a science, and it's just a bunch of woo-woo nonsense. Boy, 13 hours of work, that does suck, Prismo. I'm glad I'm still on so you could say hello to somebody outside of work. My anxiety has lowered much. I'm glad. Not weird. What's weird is the muscles in my fingers are connected to the ones in my face. Interesting. When I had a concussion, a mild concussion, nothing crazy, my taste was totally altered. And it was weird because I'm like, you get so used to the idea that your tongue tastes stuff. Your brain is tasting stuff. So I had eaten this, it was a big piece of bread that was put into like an oven, like a toaster oven, and then it's covered in like cinnamon, sugar, and whipped cream, and then drizzled with honey or something. It's a, actually maybe we can just show it to you guys. Yogurt presso bread. Yeah, something like this. Like that. So a friend of mine worked at this place, Yogurt Presso, and so she gave it some to me, and she like fed it to me, which is not so unusual for Korea. And I tasted it and I was like, are there onions in this? She's like, no, I taste onions. Like, it was very strange. When I was eating rice, it was like eating tiny marshmallows. It's really weird. And so it's just thinking, yeah, your brain does that stuff, and it kind of makes you reevaluate that phrase, it's all in your head. It is. It is all in your head. Why is it in your head? Those are the things that we have to look at. Brain stuff is definitely wild. Absolutely. We had fun with the sweet blocker taste test, and now we're just doing the after. What would this be called? An after show? Is it even a show? What makes it a show versus a live stream? I don't know. I'm asking. So it's weird. I did learn about chronic pain and memory. just because of the stuff that I have to read, and part of it is that your brain has formed a memory of pain. Because of that, the areas that are affected are overly protected with like inflammation, calcium deposits, which causes inflammation, to protect the nerve from physical damage, which causes pain. So that's awesome. That's awesome, you know. The commitment to showmanship, I don't know. Is that what this is? Is this showmanship? Is that what this is? Oh, let's see if I can taste sweetness now. Nope. I'm very talking is thirsty work, let me tell you. Nope. Nope. It just tastes like a beer you left out, so it got sour. That's what it tastes like. Like a warm beer that just was left out. You gotta go, done with the work, and need to sleep. Thanks for the chat. Good night. How do we say good night? Buenos noches? Is that it? But sleep well, either way. Add some salt to that water. Why? I can taste salt. I know that I can taste salt. We tasted the salty brownie. Also, I have your very famous apple, beet, carrot. That was terrible. Terrible. I wonder how long this is gonna last. Because I put a lot of this on my tongue. Usually, like I said, half a dose will do you, but this was too much. So I don't know. What brand of microphone do I have? A Yeti, and I don't have a proper cover. I bought a cover off of G Market, which it's kind of like Amazon, and it showed up, and it was like big enough to cover my thumb. So somebody else bought me one. It was like, no, I got the right one. It's big enough to cover my thumb. So I'm using the microphone with a sock. There's a winter sock on it to prevent the, what's it called? The plosives? Is that what it's called? To prevent that. So that's what I've got. So it's just a Yeti microphone with the winter sock. Yeah. I am thinking to get a different camera. The camera itself looks fine if you use it for Zoom, because I had to film my classes. It's great. It's perfect quality. But for some reason, when I upload it, like when I'm looking at myself now, everything looks very crisp and clean in the OBS studio. And then once it loads, so I did try to record it in a different program. Same thing, looked great. And then once it loaded up, it's grainy again. So I'm gonna try another camera. And I guess, you know, this is the stuff that, what's it called? The Patreon stuff is for, you know. Yes, buenas noches. Okay, good. Just for the electrolytes. Do I need electrolytes? Why? I'm not puking today. Not yet. Hello, Sith. Hello from San Diego. All right. That is a time. What time is it there? Midnight? 11? What time is it there? I feel like the foot people and the Trump people ran outside at the same time. That I'm not sure what that was a reference to. 10 p.m. ish. Okay, maybe 10:13. Right, that's what it is kind of here. And that is a good time. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about brains, I guess, in general. Talking about brains. Actually, I wonder what my homework is for this for this week, because I'm still taking classes and stuff, so that's exciting. I'm having fun with it though. I didn't think that I would enjoy going back to school, but no, I totally do. I think it's a blast. Sometimes you're not able to do the work because your migraines, and so you put it off, and then you have another migraine the next day, and now it's actually due, and so it's physically difficult to do. But I really enjoy it. Yeah. Sorry, it's a fine line between riffing and being unhelpful. I gotcha. Brains. Actually, yeah, they're really good. I had duck brains. They were good. It's a good time, I think. Yeah, what is my homework this week? I don't know. Let's find out. So I had to do what, like a quiz, and gosh, one of the things that sucks, because you think migraine, you just think, oh, a lot of head pain, and I mean there's that aspect, but there's also the like I can't remember stuff aspect. Let's see, research design. Yeah, we had to do stuff about research design last week. So what are we doing this week? What are we doing this week? It is interesting to see some of my peers' posts, because I feel like some of them kind of miss the point of what they have to do. So it'll be something like using this theory that we learned about, come up with blah blah blah, where blah 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 is the actual assignment. And instead their posts, because we have to do these discussion posts, their posts are like 80% defining the theory. That wasn't it. And so sometimes, like with my students, I tell them, I don't care if you can define it. I want you to show me you understand it, And so if I ask you a question, because I don't ask them vocab questions, I don't ask that kind of stuff. I'll ask them like comprehension things. So, based on what you know of certain geological phenomena, right? If I give you this setup, what kind of climate can you expect to happen here? And I'll give them one where it's very obvious. It's not like a guess. It's very obvious if you understand the concept of like the rain shadow effect. So I'll put water, some coastal area, and then a big mountain range, and then some land behind the mountain range. What is something you can expect to be here? As opposed to define the rain shadow effect, right? Or to explain why it happens, Because if you can define it, who cares? Who cares if you could memorize a definition, You can memorize a diagram. Congratulations. Do you know why you should care about that definition or diagram? That's the important part. So those are the questions I ask. So sometimes they will try to answer it in like the Korean standard way, which is some kind of keyword matching and stuff, and I gotta tell them, no, that ain't it. But it just makes me wonder, if my students can learn that, then how are these people trying to get a master's degree not knowing that? These are students, they're young, they don't want to be here. How does somebody trying to get a master's degree not understand how to follow assignment directions? So it's kind of, you start seeing people, and then you see them not be there, So that's it. Always something to learn in life, absolutely. That's why I disagree with that phrase, oh yeah, I know my grandpa's racist, but he's from a different time. No, he's from today. Like, he's from now. Are you telling me that your grandpa didn't learn anything from when he was a stupid idiot 10-year-old till today? Really? So he's still got these, this mentality of, idiots from 1952, and between 1952 and 2022 he hasn't learned anything new? Really? He's not from that time. He existed at that time, but he's not from that time. He's from today. There's no excuse for that. Is the coursework intensive? How would you define intensive? Is there a test you can take to see which of these brain types you're strong at? I'm sure there's like online tests. Let's do it. And then you tell me, let's do it. Gardner's multiple intelligences. Let's just do online test. There we go. Wow, that's a lot of small writing. All right, so number 1 doesn't describe you at all. Number 5 describes you exactly. Number 3 is somewhat. And then go through here. Find my strengths. I don't know. Let's do that. Now you can do it. Let's see. Do I pride myself? Like I like knowing words? Is that the same? I don't pride myself. I just like it. So is that what they mean? That you like it? Using numbers and symbols. Music's important. I always know where I am in relationship to home. Consider myself an athlete. Nope. I feel like people of all ages like me. Oh, the depression. But really, like based on what I really encounter, I guess so. Right? Of all ages, okay. Like on paper, but not my own feeling. So what do? I feel like people of all ages like me. No. I know that people in different age groups like me. So which one, how do I answer it? See, this is why I'm really bad at these tests. Let's just... I often look for weaknesses in myself that I see in others, yes. The world of plants and animals is important to me. I enjoy learning new words. I often develop equations to describe my relationships. Not equations, but something like that. I have a wide and very musical interest, yes. I don't get lost easily and can orient myself with maps or landmarks. Pretty good with that. I feel really good about being physically fit. I mean, I would, but am I? I'd like to be with all different types of people, I guess. But I also don't like being around people because it's very draining. But I like to meet new types of people, I guess. I often think about the influence, as a teacher. I enjoy my pets, clearly. I love to read and do so daily, I guess. If you listening to books. I often see mathematical ratios, not as much. Good sense of pitch, tempo, and rhythm, Knowing directions is easy, pretty easy. I have a good balance and eye-hand coordination, not anymore. I respond to all people enthusiastically, free of bias or prejudice. I respond free of bias, but I, of course, have biases, right? I believe I'm responsible for my actions, yes. I like learning about nature, yes. I like hearing lectures that are challenging, yes. Math has always been one of my favorite classes, kinda. Music education began when I was younger and still continues today, doesn't continue today. I have the ability to represent what I see in drawing or painting, not very well. Outstanding coordination, no. I enjoy new or unique social situations, no. Try not to waste my time on trivial pursuits, I don't know. Caring for my houseplants, they die. I enjoy keeping a daily journal. Actually, I do like that. I just forget to. I like to think about numbers and statistics. I'm good at playing music and singing. I don't know about singing, but playing music, yeah. I mean, when I'm able to. My ability to draw is recognized. I like being outdoors, enjoy the change in seasons, and look forward to different physical activities of each season. I enjoy complimenting people, when they do a good job. I often think about problems in my community and state, Hunting and fishing, Enjoy poetry, occasionally write my own, Understand things through math, sometimes. Can remember the tune of a song when asked, depends. Color, form, shading, and texture, not really. Excitement of personal and team, personal competition, yes. Quick to sense others' dishonesty and their desire to control me. I'm always totally honest with myself, I don't know. I enjoy hiking. Talk a lot and tell stories, girl. Pride in musical accomplishments, I used to. Seeing things in 3 dimensions is easy. No. I like to move around a lot. Maybe. I feel safe when I'm with strangers. Yeah, because I can break their neck if they do anything. I enjoy being alone and thinking about life. I look forward to visiting the zoo. I like animals, but I don't like seeing them in the zoo. So we're going to put this one. Please answer all the questions. I enjoy doing puzzles. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this is how it's represented. Broken image, broken image, broken image, and broken image. Fantastic! Yay! So, where's my weaknesses? Okay, social, musical, math, body, and spatial. Yeah, just like you mentioned. So, I mean, you should be able to know your own intelligences. I would say so, but then again, I guess if you don't have a lot of personal, like that intrapersonal intelligence, maybe you wouldn't. You know, it is infuriating when people don't listen to instructions. I know. Greetings, Lee. Great to see you live. You too, Shuggle. Yeah, I just don't. People and instructions, man. You'd think following directions is just basic. You know, it's basic. You'd think, but it ain't. That ain't it. Any other topics you guys want to chat about before we head on out? Or you could share, maybe not from there then, but you could share on the Discord. You can share your stuff. Your results. That's the stuff I'm thinking. The stuff. Results. I'll put an invite to the Discord. Copy. Boom. There we go. That'll do her. Yeah, just read the rules if you're gonna join. It's not big. It's just, you know, don't be rude and make it minor safe. And don't be rude. And ask somebody if you can DM them. Don't just DM people randomly. Ask someone first. That's all. That's pretty standard, you know what I mean? 211 views. Nice. I'm surprised. Actually, I'm glad. But I'm surprised. Do you think I'd get more views if I did it earlier? What if you aren't in the mood to listen sometimes? It depends. It depends. You know. I think it depends. If I'm not in the mood to listen and I can put it off until later, sure. But if it's something like this person is... Because, like, for example, my students, right? If I'm having my students do something in the class and 3 of them don't listen to directions, 3 students have just held everybody back. So it's not, I'm not in the mood to listen to directions. Is it, am I in the mood to slow down the entire group because I'm not in the mood to listen to directions? So that's one thing that I try to think about. Is it me not listening to directions, or is it me putting this off because I don't feel up to it and it's only going to affect me? Or is it something that I should do it because it affects other people? So, like, obviously teaching and having chronic migraines. And we're talking, like, chronic migraines, or if you get 15 or more migraines in a month. And I have migraines almost daily. Sometimes they're so bad I gotta leave my classroom and puke. If I don't feel like teaching, like if I'm not in the mood to do it, my students have now just lost a whole day, like a whole part of their lesson, right? And either they have to make it up at home or they have to do double the work next time to stay on track because of me. You know what I mean? But if it's me at home and it's the weekend and I wanted to go out for a walk, but instead I'm suffering at home with a migraine and I'm puking, I'm staying home, relaxing, that kind of thing, because it doesn't affect other people. So that's how I would do it. Yeah, if you're in the mood to listen and nobody else is going to be affected, fine. But if it's stuff like safety stuff, if you're only going to hear the directions once, things like that. If somebody has to verbally or textually give you the directions, as opposed to, like it's a printout from somewhere, or it's like a video that's already posted and you can just watch it at your leisure. So those are the things, yeah. Hello, it. Good night, Wildcard. I like your profile picture. I don't know what you're talking about, it. I know because I researched it, implemented it, and trained teachers to use it. Is this I don't know, is this a bot? Oof. I don't know. Typhoon-ish. Yeah, getting kind of a typhoon. I think I'll close this on the side. Now I'm curious, did we get a bot? That's cool. I mean, that's cool. We got a bot. Not that one. That one. No? That one. There we go. Okay. Where's the cats? Not there, just a mess. That's it. Cats aren't there. They just leave a mess. I wonder what that picture looks like. That Simpsons episode where Homer tastes the insanity pepper, and then he's got that like coyote guide. That's what the thing looks like. Yeah. All right. Then so Sith, hopefully that, I don't know, was an adequate answer to your question. Yeah. One thing I tell my students too, because sometimes like half of them, just like most of the class, just won't listen. And I tell them, you guys, I'm old. I'm old. And as you get older, you think about all of the minutes you have left. Please don't waste my minutes. Because if I spent 5 minutes telling you instructions or 5 minutes doing this, and most of you didn't write it down, most of you didn't listen, those 5 minutes are gone forever. And now I could spend 5 minutes grading, I could spend 5 minutes whatever, and instead I'm spending another 5 minutes telling you guys the same thing. And I tell them, I'm not doing this to make you feel bad, I'm doing this to make you feel aware that your actions are not in a bubble, you know. Give me a different perspective on it. Thanks for the explanation. Yeah, absolutely. For some reason, I'm reminded of these two guys. We were trying to catch a ferry. It was a small ferry, or I guess a ferry boat. It was a glorified dinghy. It was a people-only ferry, and it was in the middle of this really bad lightning storm, and it had just started. It just hit us on the coast suddenly, and we had to go back to our vehicles. So we were on this little tiny island that people would just kind of visit just for fun, right? And so there was this boat that would take you there and back to the parking lot on the mainland area. And this guy is coming as fast as he can, but he's got a cane. And he's yelling, please don't leave me, please don't leave me. He's this older guy. And one guy in the boat was yelling, leave him, we don't want to get hit with this, leave him. Now we were undercover, so it wasn't like we were exposed right then and there, like we weren't going to get hit by lightning anyway. But he just kept saying, go, 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 it's his fault for being slow. And everyone on the boat was like, awkward, you know. And the boat, the driver just was like, dude. So the guy was screaming, wait, you know. And he gets on the boat, and they start yelling at each other that, how dare you tell them to leave me? Because he could hear the guy saying, go, it's your fault, you're late, just go, just go. And that's what they were doing. They were just arguing on the boat about this thing that was so pointless. And it was just pissing everybody off, because we all have to deal with this. And they were saying a lot of like profanity. Now, I'm not offended by profanity. I was in the Marines at that time. Profanity was 75% of my vocabulary. But there was a little kid sitting next to me, and with their mom, and I just kind of barked at him, which I can't do it here in my house because it'll make my neighbors mad. But the way that I sharply talked to people, and I was like, hey, knock it off. Nobody left you, and we didn't get hit with lightning. We didn't die. Knock it off. And they were like, oh, but no, we're fine. Everybody's fine. And there's a little kid here, and you guys are saying all kinds of profanity. Knock it off. Be a better example or something of adults. And they apologized to the kid, and they sat down. And like I said, I don't know why I was reminded of this. I don't know what the moral of the story was. I do remember the mom said, thank you for saying something. And I was so mad. And I said something back, like, she's not even my kid. Why don't you stand up for her? You know, because I didn't understand that, you know, for different people, when they're in a situation like that, they have different reactions. You know, a lot of people freeze when they're very uncomfortable. But I don't know, that I think about that sometimes. That this guy just wanted to leave, and this other guy wanted us to stay. He got on the boat, and everybody was fine, and they just kept arguing about what could have been. And these guys were maybe 55, 60. Is that? You don't have many minutes left, gentlemen. Is this how you want to spend them? This is how you want to spend them? Okay. I don't think it was directly related to anything you were saying, Sith, but yeah. Being considerate of other people's time. You definitely want to do that because you want people to be considerate of your time. You know what I mean? So that's how I try. Like if I want people to be considerate of my time and I'm not willing to be considerate of their time, well, if I can't even meet my own standard of human excellence, right? Then how can I expect other people to meet my own standard, you know? You should have co-streamed with Shoe on Head tonight. Now let's debunk social emotional learning. IT, or it, I'll call you it, I guess. It sounds like you have a very strong opinion about something that like nobody's talking about. So why don't you make a video about it? You know, don't tell me go back in time and get together with Shoe on Head. Now let's all do this thing that nobody's talking about because I want to talk about it. My friends, talk about it on your own channel, and then that way you guys can talk about it. Do you practice meditation? And if so, what was a profound experience that you had? I think for meditation, it's hard for me to do. So one thing that I had tried that was helpful for me was something called right mindfulness, which was in short, you look at everything very neutrally. So you don't look out and say, "Oh man, it's raining. Oh, that sucks." And you don't look out and say, "Oh wow, it's raining. It's wonderful." You look out and you say, "It is raining." And you know, you take to slow down and taste things. Oh, this does have a saltiness. This has a thing, and it's not good or bad. I think that helped a lot because when you've got depression, there's a lot of like negative phrasing that you use for just your thoughts. Just the way that you think to yourself. It's a lot of negativity. So it's like. I have a migraine and there's a kid screaming, could my day get any worse? Well, the kid has nothing to do with me. The kid's not screaming to make my day worse. If the kid knew I had a migraine, they probably would knock it off, and maybe they wouldn't because they're just a kid, So instead it's, I have a migraine. Also, there's a kid screaming. What are my options? Something like that. That has been helpful to not stress myself out. Yeah. Lack of confidence is why people freeze. No, it's not. It's it has to do with in certain situations, but I think in that situation, because of how the men were arguing, for some people I think it tipped off that fight or flight. We talk about fight or flight, but really the most common is freeze. So if you're in a situation where your adrenaline starts pumping, most people freeze up. So this is why in cases of like people getting, people that are victims of a crime, we wonder how come they didn't run away, how come they didn't fight back. If that was me, I totally would have, whatever. It's because they froze. And that's a response. And when you think about it from like an evolutionary perspective, if you are afraid of a bear, you can't fight the bear, and you can't outrun the bear. But if you freeze, there's some predatory animals that leave you alone, or you at least can freeze while you're still not seen. And so you may continue to go unseen. So this freeze response is really good when the threat is like a bear. But when the threat is two people arguing and you're worried for their safety, and also it's scary because there's lightning flashes all around us hitting the water and we don't know if we're going to be next, and they're causing your daughter extra stress, that freeze response sucks, you know. And for me, my response is fight, which is also not great because, yeah, that's fine when I'm trying to stop some people, whatever. But if you're in a situation where you're disagreeing with your boss and all you could think is break his neck, that doesn't work. It doesn't work for thinking, you know what I mean? Or if there's like a car accident and your first response is to punch the guy in the face that caused the accident, that's not helpful for anybody. So you do take a step back and like, all right, wait, don't do that. What can we do? What should we do? You know, and the same with flight. It has its benefits and it has its negatives as well. So that's the reason most people freeze. It's not for lack of confidence. It may be when they're having like a discussion, but I think freezing, it's more of an instinctual response. It's something your brain just like, hey, do that. It also happens in people with autism when they're overwhelmed with an emotion and they want to express themselves, but they feel like they can't. They just feel stuck, so they freeze. So they're having like a really emotionally driven argument, and the person will say, so why did you do that? What were you thinking? And they just get stuck and they're just frozen. For some people with severe anxiety as well, they're worried about doing something the wrong way, therefore some bad thing is going to happen, this nebulous concept. So it's not necessarily lack of confidence. I'm sure it does happen I know it happens in situations where like a person wants to ask somebody on a date, but they're not sure the person would be open to it, something like that, absolutely they would freeze. But there's a lot of freeze responses that happen that have nothing to do with like confidence level. Yeah. I think it is watching the stream delayed and hasn't noticed. That's okay. Meditation at Gimnema. Cool. Are you wanting to go to a Gimnema? Do they have Gimnema in San Diego? Being anti-confrontational. Not being anti-confrontational. I don't think confrontation is negative. I don't. And because I don't think confrontation has to be aggressive. That's why. Sometimes you do have to be aggressive. And that's okay. But that's okay for me, you know. For other people, they have different responses to things. And the other problem is trying to read the situation, you know. If you are verbally aggressive in a situation, and that could show up as a lot of different things. It could show up as condescending. It can show up as threatening, like verbal threats, that kind of thing. If you're verbally aggressive, is that going to make the other person shut down, right? So if it's hard to know in the moment what is the way that I should respond to this situation. So sometimes I just try to do steps, like just like a troubleshooting, really. And you're just like, all right, well, let's try the standard one. All right, that's not working. So let's try to escalate it. Okay, that's not working. Let's get in somebody's face and see how that goes. And if that doesn't work, then this is like, oh, an outlier. Interesting. where do we go from here? I did work with an outlier, and if there are different types of, obviously I'm not diagnosing him, but there are different types of narcissistic personality disorder. There's like malignant types, and there's like really passive types. He did have some of those signs. I'm not saying he had it, but I'm saying that there were some of those signs. So it was very difficult to reach him, because he just didn't get that he was the problem in the situation. And it was difficult. So, you try to be direct but gentle, like, hey, there's a better way to do this. And then you go all the way to, I can't believe they gave you the job, because somebody as stupid as you should have stopped breathing already. I mean, what the hell did you think you were doing when you came here? Why are you coming here and just stealing money? You don't even do anything for a paycheck. You are the most useless human being that I've ever encountered. Profanity, profanity, profanity. And that person still interpreted it as, Lee's talking to me because she likes me. And we have a secret relationship, and we're in love. That's how he interpreted it. Wow. So that was interesting. Just to talk to this person, to try to figure out what is a way to reach somebody this way. But then I also had to recognize that the more that I did talk to it, the more it fed into this, I guess you could call it a delusion, that he thought we were like secret lovers. It was very strange. Very strange. He wanted to pay me to be his therapist so he could spend more time with me on Saturdays. Yeah, very strange. And I said, just go to therapy. What? Why would you pay me to be? What? So that definitely was an outlier, because I put it in no uncertain terms that I absolutely have no respect for you, and you are a waste of space, and I don't know how somebody got to your age without accidentally dying, because you're so stupid that I can't believe you didn't die on your own, or somebody killed you out of frustration. When you say something like that to somebody, you don't expect them to say, we're secret lovers. So yeah, that's, people are interesting, that's for sure. Well, I see that as a lack of confidence. If you are confident you can handle a situation, you're less likely to freeze. People freeze out of fear. So I think you're getting it maybe backwards. So when you are in a situation where you have fear, which is that adrenaline response, that response freezes you. It's that response that freezes you. It's kind of like if you're exposed to cold air, the response is for your skin to kind of pucker up and for your hairs to stand on end, to have like goosebumps. That's just a response. It's not because I'm weak versus the cold, and if I had more mental preparation, then I could brave the cold and not have a physical response. So the freeze is not a choice. It's not like a subconscious choice. It is a physical response. It is something that the person does not control. The only way that I know of to successfully get an instinct out of somebody is military training. Those are ways when you hear something loud, you don't flinch, you don't back away like this. You look at it and you go towards the danger. That's really an unnatural response for people. And the only way to do that, I think, is through like really repeated stressors, which is very overwhelming. Yeah, I would say that's the only way. But the freeze response is just a response. It's like when other animals have that response. It's an animal that you scare, like an opossum. This animal is not thinking, wow, I lack the confidence to run away successfully from this other animal, the human, so I'm going to freeze up. It's not a lack of, it's an evolutionary response to danger. That's what it is. Yeah. Um, I've heard there's a fourth response besides flight and freeze. It's to cater or try to please. I think, I'm not sure if that's a natural response or a learned response due to trauma and abuse. Because that's when I've heard it, that it's a response. It's like a what's the word? Self-protective, self-protective, I guess we'll just say for right now. A self-protective response to that, yeah. Some people are into being treated like trash. I wouldn't say that. I guess I would say you can almost think about it like a kind of addiction where your brain is functioning based on your amount of alcohol that you drink. And with enough of that, you end up abusing your body because that's how your brain functions daily, is with alcohol, right? You can think of it in a way with trauma. So if you have somebody that is so traumatized or regularly abused, they're in a situation where that is their day-to-day life, and they've built a lot of their responses, they've built a lot of their who they are as a person is in response to trauma. So now when they're out of that situation, it's really difficult to manage because all of their management techniques are based around an abuser, and that abuser is now absent. So it's very difficult to figure out, where do I go and how do I interact? I don't know how to interact with people in a way that is not abusive, like for to be abused. In the same way, I don't know how to go through my day-to-day life without drinking alcohol and being drunk. I can't think of how to go about doing that. And so it's not that they want to be treated like trash. It's that all of their understanding of interpersonal interaction, especially a close relationship, is built catering to an abuser, and they don't know any other way. So they continue to fall into these abusive relationships because, as messed up as it may sound, that's the only thing that makes sense to them. That's it. And that's why they need help, as opposed to laugh emoji, oof, ha ha ha, those people are dumb and just like to be treated like trash, and that kind of judgment, and it's your choice, you're choosing an abuser, what an idiot. Instead, it's our job as people outside of that to say, it looks like you need help. How can I help you? How can I help you get to a place where you're able to get treatment so you can have healthier relationships with other people? And that's one of the reasons that it's really important, I think, to study psychology, and for everybody just to have like at least a class in psychology. It's to kind of understand that if somebody's reacting in a way that seems really damaging or really unusual, it's not because that person necessarily likes to be that way. There's something going on in their head that it makes sense to them and it doesn't make sense to us. Is there a way for us to bridge that communication gap? Yeah. I was suggesting perhaps meditation at a Gimnema might not be a bad idea. Nearest one is in LA, unfortunately. No, it's a very bad idea. Gimnema is not a relaxing place. Especially at night. There's a lot of like drunk people that show up because this is an easier way to pass out as opposed to passing out on the street or trying to get home. I remember there's like a stack of mats that you use, like they're just single like body mats, right? And you just put them on the ground and lie on the mat. So there's this pile of mats, and I remember this one guy who was super drunk. He flops on the pile of mats so nobody else could take mats. And at one part, because I'm looking at him, and he's like snoring like crazy, and he lifts his leg up, and he just has this horrible wet fart go off. And there's just the whole stack is now covered in farticles. You know what I mean? It's just not, ugh. So I would not say Gimnema is a good place to meditate. even laying in like the pools and stuff, there's a lot of older ladies that are there just like clucking. I think that some people when they talk, they sound like clucking. Like my aunties when they're talking, it's like ah da 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 da. So there's a lot of the clucking that happens. So yeah, I wouldn't go there to meditate. I would maybe go to my room, but then Chaco would show up. Anytime I'm trying to exercise something, Chaco shows up. Yeah, so that's it. Let's see. Yeah, maybe the guy was like that, so he saw something familiar in you, or the way you were talking to him at the moment. Oh, no, that wasn't that guy. I see what you're saying. No, that wasn't that guy. I was trying to help him. Like, that's not where we went right away, obviously. You're not going to talk to a person in such a harsh manner as step one, right? And so this was actually a coworker who just really, 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 really sucked at his job. And for the sake of doing the job correctly, I kept trying to help him be better at his job. So I would pull him like, hey, can you come into my room and let me help you with this, So he'd come into my classroom and we'd go through different stuff like this. And at one part, he looked at me adoringly and he said, Lee, how come you're spending all this time to help me? And I said, because you can't teach worth a damn, and I really care about the students that are going to be absolutely ruined wasting their time in your class because you suck. That's why we're doing this. It's not for you. I don't like you. This is for the students because you really don't know what you're doing. Are you sure that's the reason? Yes, I'm very sure that's the reason. And from there, so it didn't matter how I spoke to him. He thought we were in a secret relationship that only he knew about, and he thought I also knew about it. And so when it became very clear that he just wanted, it was very clear he just wanted attention. Not just from me, just from anybody. He just wanted attention. And he knew a way to get it. He would always turn things about himself. He would twist things to be about himself. And this is again where that tip of maybe there could be some, narcissistic personality traits, right? Everything was twisted around himself. He was never the one in the wrong. Everybody else was misunderstanding. And so the more you spoke to him, the more you realized he is full of himself. And the reason that he thought that we were in a secret relationship was because he believed that he was an amazing catch and that we were destined to be together because our classrooms are right next to each other. We had a couple interests that were similar that he found out, and he told me that God brought me into his life, that we were destined. It's fate that our classrooms are next to each other. He really believed that he was this guy that just deserved adoration and all the best things. He really believed it. And anybody who wasn't giving him those things, those people needed to go down. And eventually he realized that, no, I really do hate you. And I think I couldn't respect a person less than I respect you. So eventually he realized it, and he got very angry, just snapped, just became very disgusting, tried stalking me, tried doing all this other crap. And eventually he lost his mind and just started screaming in the middle of school day, students everywhere. He was let go, because of this. But this was an outlier. This was not a guy that was like, oh, I grew up around abuse and this is what I'm used to. This wasn't a guy who had anything to do with fight, flight, or freeze. This was a guy he was an outlier for sure. Definite outlier. Very glad he's gone, and very thankful to the school for taking quick action on that, because this was it's a real piece of work. I'm not even saying all the terrible stuff that he did. Real piece of work. Because again, his end goal was adoration from everyone, from his peers, his students, the administration. He just thought that he deserved it for nothing, for being less than mediocre. He thought that that's what he deserved. Yeah. There's no way she doesn't like me. I'm me. Yes. It turned out he was also harassing another teacher. He thought that they were dating too, apparently. And he threatened her because, obviously there's people that are less aggressive than me. So those people are a little easier to threaten. For him, he never threatened me. He got to a point where he did lose his composure so much that it looked like he could be dangerous, which is why he was let go. But it wasn't like, I'm gonna kill you or anything like that. I felt like he may retaliate. You know what I mean? It's just glad it's over. Yeah, a lot more context. Oh, absolutely. He was just quite a guy. It was interesting. It's interesting to see narcissists, I think. Again, not saying he is, but let's assume he was. But I think it's very interesting to see narcissists because and we're talking narcissistic personality disorder. We're not talking like, oh yeah, she takes so many photos of herself. She's such a narcissist. She loves looking at herself on Instagram. Like, that's not narcissistic personality disorder. So it's really interesting to see somebody with NPD and to see how below mediocre they are because they think they're so good. And it's just, because there's people that are arrogant and everybody does, everyone hates that attitude, but there's people that it's like, at least there's something to brag about. Like if Elon Musk is an arrogant douche, he does have a lot of stuff going for him. Do you know what I mean? But for somebody to think, I am so out of shape, I look like a amorphous sack of potatoes that's been left to rot in the sun for years. And I'm so wholly incapable of doing my job that it's a wonder how I even got the job. It's a wonder how I've even been employed for as long as I have, right? And a person that never had a relationship, never left his parents' house, my age, acting like a spoiled 13-year-old brat. It's amazing to see that, thinking, I'm the best thing in the world. Everyone wants to be around me because I'm just so likable and wonderful and I have so much to offer the world. That's really weird to see. So I do have a hard time not talking to people like that. Talking to them is infuriating, but I'm also very curious about why they behave that way. Yeah. Are there support systems in place for faculty like him to access within the school? In which way? Like for helping with teaching, or in which way? Because his thing is that he thought he was excellent and that other people just didn't realize how excellent he was. This wasn't a guy who... It was interesting because when I spoke to him and I asked him about different approaches to learning or different approaches to teaching, he knew them. He knew them. He's like, oh yeah, there's this type, this type, this type. Oh. Okay, so if you have a bunch of students that they're really good at learning visually, how would you make a lesson for that? And everything he said was based on himself. He's like, well, I would tell them that I'm like X, and that if they can imagine little me's around me, that's kind of like, and he was trying to explain like chemistry, and he was trying to explain an atom or something based on just see me, and I'm like the nucleus. And then imagine little me's around me, and those are like electrons. That was his way. It was weird. And when you start really digging into somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder, they respond defensively. So I had asked him to show me some of his PowerPoints, all of which he downloaded, which were very inappropriate for his age group and very dry. And I said, well, look at this. Look at how this is. Let's say that I don't know this because I'm your student. How would you describe this concept to me? And he goes, you don't know that concept? And I said, no. I said, let's pretend I'm a student and I don't know this concept. How would you describe this to me? Well, I mean, you could you just look at the PowerPoint, which was all text. And I said, okay. So I look at the PowerPoint. I'm your student. I look at the PowerPoint, and I say, teacher, this doesn't make sense. Can you give me an example? What would you tell the student? Well, I mean, honestly, it's just very difficult of a concept, so they should just memorize it. And I said, are you serious? And then I gave him an example that he could give. I said, that's an example they'll understand. It had to do with like balancing equations or something, and I was explaining it like a recipe. You know, just because you have a bunch of flour doesn't mean you can make a cake. You need a certain ratio of like cake to eggs and stuff. So if we take this part of the equation, we're trying to balance it this way, blah, 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 blah. I said, that's how you could say it. And that's just off the top of my head as a non-chemistry teacher. That's a way you could explain it. You can't just tell them, well, memorize it, you know. But he knew everything really superficially. That's the best way to describe it, yeah. Getting help mentally, perhaps? No, this is Korea. To give you an example, one of the singers in SHINee, which is a K-pop group, ended his life. And in the suicide note, had mentioned that when he brought up his depression to his psychologist, his psychologist said, "You're rich and you're famous. What's a person like you got to be depressed about?" That's where we're at here. Yeah. We've got problems, for example, with students. They show up and they need, they really need, like, let's see. So they really need to have some kind of special learning. But the parents are very embarrassed that they have a child that's got a mental issue, so they just don't. And then they don't tell us, so we have no idea. It's not like we're trained to deal with this, you know. Yeah, I'm studying psychology, but I'm not a child psychologist, you know what I mean? There's a very big difference. I remember the most extreme example is a student of mine that was nonverbal and had like a spastic movements. They didn't have any control over movements, and it seemed like the rest of the students were pretty used to this. And so he's in my class, and we're just teaching. He cannot hold a pencil, pen. He's got a care worker with him to stop him from injuring himself or injuring other students when he starts to move without his control. And we'll be talking, or a student will be answering a question, and then we'll hear the student yell. He just makes a noise, just like just a noise. And everyone stops talking. And then he finishes his noise, and then we go back to whatever the student was saying, whatever I was saying, If the students are working together and they're kind of talking quietly, then that student makes the noise again. Everyone stops talking. The noise stops, and then everyone starts talking again. What's this? How is this student benefiting? You know? Nobody else is benefiting from this. How is the student nobody was benefiting from the situation, but the parents just didn't want to take him to a special school that could actually help him, because that would admit that their son is abnormal, quote unquote. I mean, it's heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah. Left the stream while I'm sleeping. That response from the psychologist woke me up. Oof. I'm very sorry to hear that. Wouldn't that be a failure on the part of the teacher not being able to communicate the lesson or concept? Oh, absolutely, yes. But like I said, remember, he showed signs of narcissistic personality disorder. So for him, it's you that's too stupid to memorize it as wonderfully as I can. For him, it wasn't, I need to be a better teacher. He thought, I am the best, and you're just too dumb to realize it. That was his thinking. So he was unteachable in terms of fixing his teaching. Unfixable. Just couldn't do it. Because he really didn't know what he was doing. For him to explain the concept, he had to understand it. And so we shared students, and it's so we shared students, right? And they would say this to me. They would say, you know, Ms. Lee, there's some issues, blah blah blah, with this teacher, and one of them was like, they were asking, you know, well, how come oxygen is 8 on the periodic table? Oh, because instead of explaining it, he just said, because that's what they wrote, just memorize it. Yeah, but why is it 8? How come it's not 7? How come it's not 9? Because that's how they wrote it. That's what he said. And I'm like, no, the way that we found out, like, about electrons and stuff, that was really cool. That's really cool stuff. Like, he could have shown a video or something, you know. But instead he just said that's what they decided. So he didn't know what he was doing. So he said, how do they pass the screening process to become a teacher? You know what? The best, I guess, think about screening processes as like a colander or like a sieve, right? And no matter how well you construct it to make it into a bowl or to make it into like a solid piece of like fabric, somebody's still gonna slip through. You just can't. Because the screening process is made by people, there's gonna be faults to it. And you're gonna get people that perhaps look good on paper, and once they're put into a position that they're supposed to be doing, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't. Credential-wise, I mean, he met those credentials. He did. He passed courses. He apparently was a good enough student himself. Remember, C's get degrees, you know. So he's a good enough student himself to have degrees. And because of the degrees, he was able to get work. And because he had work, he had something to write on a resume. Do you know what I mean? So you get these people that kind of fumble through until it gets to the point where it's so bad that they can no longer use that job. Like there was no way he could use us as a reference. Do you know what I mean? There's just no way, because we would explain why he was fired, you know, and then they wouldn't hire him. But now it's a big gap between the last job he had and now there's a gap, which is odd if you're my age. Why would you have a gap of a like a, you know, that time period in your employment? That's odd. For a young person, oh, I went back to school or something, but for somebody my age, it's a little bit weirder to have this employment gap. So that's where the resume and stuff, now it's starting to look funky, and it's going to possibly affect other jobs he could get. Yeah. Was he an example of Dunning-Kruger? I don't think so. I don't. Because with the Dunning-Kruger example, there's basically three levels of it. Level one is, I know very little about this, but the little I know I think is the most, and I think I know so much about it. The middle is, I'm better than a beginner, but I'm not an expert. I don't actually know that much. You should ask an expert. So even though if the intermediate person can answer questions from a beginner, for example, or from a non-person, like a lay person, they'll think, you know what, this isn't really the question for me. This is more of a question for like a full expert. And for the expert, their Dunning-Kruger issue is they forget that other people are not experts. And so stuff for them that makes sense, or certain vocabulary and terms that make sense to them, they think everybody else knows it. And so we actually had another teacher like that. That teacher was very well educated and didn't recognize that their PhD was not where the students were. And they kept trying to teach up here, not recognizing they needed to teach down here. And so that would be the Dunning-Kruger in that direction. In this guy's case, he wanted the adoration and admiration that comes from like the social status from being a teacher, and the admiration that you get from your students. He believed that his students would admire him. He has a captive audience where people can just listen to him talk about himself, and they'll hang on to his every word, and they love him. So that's why he had taken up teaching. So that wasn't the Dunning-Kruger effect. It was for him to get more eyes on him, more people listening to him. If he felt like he could be successful with like a YouTube channel, maybe he could do that, or a podcast or something, because that would be listeners. That's what he wants. But yeah, that was that guy. I feel like that kind of society will create people like him more often than the norm. If you live in a culture where nothing can be wrong with you, you'll act and believe it to fit in. The problem is you can't fit in or act that way. So what ends up happening, my idea, hypothesis I guess, but an idea, is that is the reason in Korea and Japan that they have the highest suicide rates in the world. It's like Korea, Japan, and sometimes one other country, but they're always first and second place, switching. So rather than say that there's no such thing as mental illness, you just suck. That's where it is. It's not that nothing can be wrong with you, it's that you're not, it's not that you have depression and need to get that treated, it's that you're lazy and unmotivated. Gosh, why can't you be more like your cousin? Your cousin is blah, blah, blah at your age, and now here's you at your age. Boy, you're just this pathetic piece of crap. Like, why did I get a kid like you? This is all your fault, 100% your fault, 100% fixable, but you are choosing not to fix it. That's what it is. If a student has ADHD, you're just choosing not to focus. You're just being lazy. You're just doing this, and the other thing. And so, of course, that's very demoralizing. And that leads you to perform less and to perform worse. And it's harder for you to get into a good college. So you're having a harder time getting into like higher society or what have you. So you're working at, a job that your parents are embarrassed of. You're just working at, as customer service at a supermarket, which is a very necessary job. I go to supermarkets, I need people that work there, and I'm very grateful that they do. I'm very grateful to delivery drivers. I'm very grateful to these people. I want to order stuff. I don't want to physically go there. Delivery drivers make it happen. And I very much tell my students, we need to treat these people better because they are doing jobs that are necessary for our society to function. How dare we look down on them, and how dare we pay them less? How dare we? Don't you like the fact that you don't have to go out to a restaurant to have restaurant food? How dare you look at this person and say their job is nonsense, or their job is not worth a proper paycheck, right? But that's how it's seen. Not just in Korea, but in a lot of other places. So now you're in a situation where basically you have depression and you feel like everything sucks. And on paper and socially, everything sucks. And there's no way out. Well, there's one way out. Then they take it. If you're being bullied, oh, it's because you did something to warrant the bullying. Oh, why are you behaving so weird? I had a student that was outed at their previous school, and so they were bullied for being gay. And when they went to report it to the principal said, well, are you gay? Like it's his fault that he's getting bullied, as opposed to, oh my gosh, this is terrible, let's fix this right away. It was, well, are you causing the bullying? Isn't that something worth bullying, is the fact that you're gay? So thankfully the former student, their parents were very excellent and moved them to a better school, which was our school. But that's how it's seen. So it's not, oh, nothing can be wrong with you. It's anything wrong with you is your fault, and you're just choosing to be crappy and annoying. That's it. It's not that you have autism, it's that you like being annoying to people. And that's why everybody hates you, because you deserve it, because you're annoying, because you chose to be annoying. That's it. As younger people move to replace some of the older folks, do you see anything potentially changing? Possibly. LGBT stuff in Korea has been changing, and very slowly mental health stuff has also been changing. There's been a big difference in when I was here 10 years or 11 years ago versus now, where some parents will openly tell us, my son, my daughter has depression, and they just started medication, so they might seem a bit out of it. Please understand that. Or after having a lot of problems in the class and then having a consultation with the parents, they'll say, all right, they were diagnosed with ADHD, but we just didn't want to medicate them, but now we see that it's very important. We'll take care of it. So we are getting that happening. There's more acceptance of other types of people, of other types of job pursuits. You don't have to just be a doctor, lawyer, or an office worker, like a government worker or a worker for Samsung or something. There's other types of jobs that are getting valued, you know. So it's changing. But I mean, how do you change a culture, right? What parts of the culture can change because the people recognize it can change versus thinking this is just how it is? A really good example is in the U.S. with the type of open planning that we have for zoning and those types of things. People just take it for granted that stuff is built around the car. And if you want to go to college, if you want to go to the store, whatever, this is not something you can just walk to. This is not something you get your bike and bike to. This is something you need to get in a car and drive to the store. And people just take that for granted. They don't think, can we even rearrange this concept so we can build walkable cities? This isn't something that a lot of people in the US even consider. And for a Korean's perspective, that's how things are here. Everything is packed together very tightly, very walkable, very easy. So when they go to the States, they're on the outside looking in and saying, how come Americans don't just XYZ? Whereas an American perspective is, what's there to change? This is just life. This is just how things are. And so what parts of that are in Korean culture, right? So how do you recognize that your culture, there's flexibility with it versus this is just a human experience, you know? And then how do you change that? And so I like to think about it like a big ball of wires where you're trying to untangle the wires. And as you do that, you're pulling one thing and you think you've got it, and then it starts pulling the other side tighter. So you have to pull that, but that's pulling this other side. And so there's no answer. It has to be done from all of these different angles at the same time. How do we do that? You know? And as we're doing that, what new thing is going to pop up that we didn't expect? What new tangle is going to pull awkwardly that we didn't anticipate? So for me, it's exciting. I think for some people it's overwhelming. They want to reduce it down to one or two things to fix. But for me, it's very exciting to say, all right, well, how do we take all these pieces and pull them apart at the same time? What can we do? So I really like that. It's like a puzzle. I really like it. In California, the city of Palo Alto has a similar problem. It's the drive for excellence that caused the culture to be like that. Absolutely. They need more sweet black people in Korea. We are pretty good at changing cultures. There are sweet black people in Korea, but I think every place needs more sweet black people. If my cousins could come visit, that would be really good. I really appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. I will say that there's an interesting dynamic for black people in Korea. For better or worse, there's an interesting dynamic. It can be very frustrating, and I'm not going to claim to be able to speak on that. So I would recommend finding channels for people that do have that experience to talk about it, because I can only hear what they say, and that's it. There might be other things that maybe if I relay their story that you might have a question and I can't answer that question, so I don't want to try to speak on their behalf. Yeah. I will say it is hard for Korean people to recognize that racism doesn't have to be mean, that it can be genuine ignorance that is offensive. An example would be if they see me, obviously I don't look Korean, and they are preparing mentally for hearing English, because obviously all people that are not Korean only speak English. There's no French people, there's no South African people speaking Afrikaans, there's none of that, right? So they mentally prepare for it. And so when I speak Korean, they think, what English is this? I was expecting hello, I was expecting please, I was expecting thank you, I was expecting a who, what, when, where, why, how question, and instead I'm hearing a bup, 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 bup. It doesn't sound like language. They don't realize that's racist. To see somebody coming to you and to assume this person can't speak or understand Korean, and therefore I have to not interact with them normally. Like if I have a child, a Korean child with me, and we're shopping, I can ask a question. They will answer the question to the child. So they understood the question. They understood that I'm speaking Korean. You can assume that I understand some Korean if I'm able to speak some Korean, but they answer the child. If I take somebody who's a child to a restaurant, I'm the adult, I have the money, I'm speaking Korean, and they look at the child and try to talk to the child. If I'm out with two Korean friends and we go to a restaurant, they only make eye contact with the two Korean people because they just assume I don't know any Korean. They don't realize that's racist. And so if that they can't see as racist, things like blackface are not seen as racist, because it's what's wrong with it? It's a character, and the character has dark skin. Why is this offensive? Well, in America, okay, but this isn't America. How would you feel if somebody said, well, in China, blah, okay, well, this is America, this ain't China, right? That's how we would reply too. It's not that they're being stupid Koreans that don't understand global culture. It's that they're reacting the same way everybody else would. Well, back in America, cool, this isn't America. We're not meaning it this way. We don't have that kind of history here. To us, it doesn't mean that. So there's a really huge disconnect between those concepts of like racism, especially since Korea was horribly subjugated by the Japanese, and so were a lot of places which Korea forgets. A lot of Southeast Asia, Polynesian islands, parts of China, subjugated by the Japanese. And so this idea that because we're Korean, we're being treated unfairly, we're victims of, I guess, jingoism, right? We're victims of prejudice. We're not perpetrators of prejudice. We're victims of prejudice. So it's this idea too, it's like if a black person who is in America receives a lot of racist stuff, then starts treating like a Korean person in a racist way. And they think, no, I can't be racist. I'm the receiver of racism as a black person. I'm not a giver of racism. These things I'm saying are just jokes. I don't mean it in a negative way. That's the same idea. And that's, again, it's complicated. That's a complicated one. Because when you hear things that are spoken by Koreans, and you've heard those same things spoken by people in the U.S., those people who say those things in the U.S. are racist. So you have an assumption that there's the same understanding of that, and so therefore the Korean person is racist, and it's not the same. So it's really difficult to explain that. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I'm still trying to observe it and ask about it. It's difficult to do. Yeah, especially coming from a background where I am mixed. I've changed my accent because I received a lot of insults based on my accent, or my home culture's eating habits, our phrases, the way that we speak English, like those kinds of things. Having darker skinned relatives, having married in black relatives, to come from that kind of background and to know a small part of what racism is, because in a lot of ways, I do pass as a white person. So just to have pieces of that, and with that background, to come to Korea and see some similarities, and to have to say, is this racism? That's the part that is, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions as you're going through these conversations, like in real time. It's a hard one, yeah. Let's see. So they treat you like lesser than without realizing it. I remember an Asian commercial where a black person went into the washer and came out Asian. Yeah. So like darker skin in a lot of parts of Asia, there's a lot of colorism. Just look at like Indian advertisements for beauty products. There's so much colorism. So this idea of black skin is just seen as darker skin. So if somebody says, I think black skin is unattractive, they're not saying I think black people are unattractive. They're saying that anybody who is darker than like this color, this is unattractive to me, including Koreans. When we hear the word black, we think like African. They are saying it as darker, so it's, don't worry, it's not racism, it's just colorism, but that's really what it is. That's how it comes across. So who's darkest that we can get for that? It's not that they came out Asian, it's that they came out pale skin Asian, I would assume, right? They're not coming out like the color of a Dravidian Indian, right? Which is what I'm gonna guess, right? They're coming out as a very white-skinned Asian. Dravidian, Indian, if we can look, because these are Asian people as well. And I think that's another one that is, again, how would you say that? Ignorant racism? Because that sounds negative, right? But I'm sure somebody that looked like this didn't come out. When you think of an Asian person, do you think of this? Do you think of this? Do you think of this when you think of Asian? You know, does this, when you think of Asian, is this how you think? So these phrases that we have in like the US, like Asian chicken salad, do you think that people in Iran are having the same flavor profile as people in Mongolia, having the same flavor profile as people in India, having the same flavor profile as people in Pakistan? So how could we call it Asian Indian or Asian chicken salad, right? How can we call it that? So we have these same ideas as well. We just maybe don't realize them as much. One of them that I have to point out to my students, especially because it's in the book, is Middle East. There's West Asia. Middle East is based on you living in Western Europe, you living in North America. Then you can call it the Middle East, because Asia's the Far East, right? Or East Asia's the Far East, right? So if I'm in Korea, how does it make sense to call it the Middle East when it's to my west? That doesn't make any sense, right? But we just take it for granted that it's the Middle East. It's West Asia. And I think that's one of the reasons these words are important, is because they shape how we do think, you know. Asian is so broad, absolutely. And I tell the students that when we talk about Africa, which I try to talk about Africa a lot because I know they don't get any education on it, really. Same in the US, you know. And I tell them there's no such thing as African food or African religion or African culture. Just like what's the Asian language? And they're like, none? There's a lot. I'm like, right, what's Asian food? Oh, you know, there's soy sauce, and really? They use soy sauce in Palestine? Oh. And they think, well, what's the Asian religion? Oh, well, we don't have a religion. No, you don't have a religion. Historically, Korea doesn't really have much of a religion, although animism is there. But what about in other places where Islam is there, or Hinduism is there, or Buddhism, especially the theist version of Buddhism, you know? Oh, is it the same as Shintoism? Oh, you know, in the same way, Africa doesn't have that either. It's a whole continent. It's really big. So we have to talk about that stuff. Also, to say, so they treat you lesser without realizing it. I think that they don't understand that it is lesser. When they're prepping to hear English, in their mind, that is the polite thing to do. They want to help me. They want to make sure that I have my questions answered. But they have to take a step back and say, should I even assume this person can't speak Korean in the first place? You know? That's the nice thing about really old people. They don't care. They'll just talk to you. You know, they tap your shoulder to ask a question, you turn around and they see your face and they keep asking. They don't care. Younger people, and by younger I mean my age and younger, as opposed to elderly, you know, they'll ask a question behind me, like, hey, do you know how to get to this other place? And I turn around and they say, oh, sorry. They'll say it like that, and I say in Korean, oh, where do you want to go? Oh, you can speak Korean. Ladies, she can speak Korean. Ha 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 ha. I've had coworkers when we've had to do banking stuff, and they laugh when we speak Korean. And we ask, why are you laughing? Oh, because it sounds cute. Oh, we didn't know you could speak Korean so well. And I said, how would you feel if every time you spoke English, all of us laughed at you and said, oh, it's so cute when you speak English. We didn't know you could speak English so well. How would you feel? And they said, well, really bad. Oh, sorry. Thanks. You know, it's not, but to them, it's like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Oh my God, they're speaking Korean. That's so cute. They don't realize there's nothing cute about the language itself is not inherently adorable. Do you know what I mean? It's not like Korean's an inherently super cute language. So there's no reason to be laughing because someone's speaking Korean unless you're laughing because, oh my God, I'm so surprised that you, a non-Korean, you're speaking Korean. What a delight. You know, that's not a compliment, right? And so just to switch it around, and then they stopped doing it. Because, I mean, how dare you, right? But to them, it's like a delightful thing. So they're laughing because it's delightful. But in reality, how would you feel if every time you spoke a language that wasn't your own, and you're a little nervous speaking a language that's not your own, and you're trying really hard to listen, you're really nervous about this, how would you feel that somebody behind you is giggling with their friends? How would you feel? It's not a confidence booster, you know? So, that's it. Most racism is from a lack of understanding and experience. I agree. I think exposure fixes it, definitely. I tell people that every racist should join the military because then you realize stupid comes in every color. I understand the Asian Indian thing, but are Russians considered Asian? I have a hard time. I tell my students Russia is its own planet. Geographically, Eurasia, parts of Western Russia, Europe, Eastern Russia, Asia. But just try to think of Russia as its own entity. It's its own thing. But yeah, in terms of like DNA, a lot of cultural overlap, and physical geographical features, Western Russia, Europe, Eastern Russia, Asia. If you look up, because we can do it right now. Yeah, that's all right. That's good enough. Siberian native. There we go. That's what native Siberians look like. And I point this out to my students because I ask them, because by the way, some Korean DNA does come from North Asia. You know, this is North Asia, Siberia is North Asia. You can think about it as Eastern Russia, it's North Asia. If we're talking about it geographically without talking about nations, it would be North Asia. And so yeah, this is how they look. You know, this is types of houses they live in, you know, especially for a nomadic lifestyle. And so we are talking about the peopling of the planet currently as part of our unit, and I'm letting them know, does that mean that Native Americans and other indigenous Americans are Asian DNA? Yes, they are Asian. So that's interesting, you know. East and West, communicating perspective is important, absolutely. And Tony says everyone should speak English, I think. Well, I think that the problem is even if they do speak English, communication from perspective is still going to be a problem. Interesting, I'm a quarter Inuit and they look kind of like us. Absolutely, absolutely. Also check out native Finnish people. So they do have similar look, absolutely. Now some people are lighter skinned, but a lot of the natives here have darker skin. You're also going to have that under eye puff, and part of the reason for that, and in East Asia, Southeast Asia, and North Asia, as well as other parts of the Arctic Circle, is to help provide a little bit of sun protection from reflected sunlight, not only from the snow, but from the water. So that's why it's in Southeast Asia as well. So that's kind of cool. Finnish people look Mongolian. Remember, that's like northern rim, yeah. So that's, so we go through that, we talk about that, you know, we talk about the peopling of all these places, and it's really fun. Hopefully, if it's successful, so I'm trying it again. I would like to make a free textbook for teaching history, world history, at like the high school level, because I don't like how it's taught. So I want to teach it a different way. Yeah, don't like how it's taught, but that's a different discussion. Ice will blind you in the hunt. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So that puff, that's part of why it's there. Yeah. So it's kind of cool, you know. It's also found in different parts of people that live around the water as well. So some of those groups will have it. On that note, I'm gonna head out. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Menno. Bye, Menno. No, we were taste testing, Tony, and this is non-alcoholic beer. So we're taste testing a bunch of different stuff using this extract that kills your ability to taste sweetness. So we tried a bunch of different things. And the beer was the one that was the most acceptable to drink. It wasn't pleasant, but it was still acceptable, yeah. Yeah, Paris, I don't know if you're part of our group chat, or our Discord group, but if not, you know, definitely sending an invite, and anyone else can as well. Yeah, thanks for asking questions. It always makes it super fun. I would like to speak more, but just my head. So have a good one, guys. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.